16th, 2023 Planning Board meeting. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Introduction to board members. To the far left is Don Ganarelli, then Jerry Graybill, Paul Amatucci, myself, Michael LaRue, Phil Roy, Les Bodwell, and Rick Raines. We also have Irish Griffith, the Code Enforcement Officer, Terry Wilson, the Assistant to Coding and Planning, and Hannah Watson from SMPDC. Next is we will open up the public hearing for Stop and Go Berwick, 355 Portland Street, conditional use, R70, Lot 12, Zone RCI. With so many people, we're limiting the speech to 5 minutes each, with an additional 3 minutes added after everyone has spoken. Everyone just come up. We'll first have Stop and Go come and give us a brief description, and then we can start with the public information.
Hello, everybody. My name is Wyatt Page, representing Adder Engineering, and Kevin Patel, the owner of Stop and Go Berwick. And for anybody who's not up to speed, our proposal is a 7,500 square foot building, which is a convenience store with 1,500 square feet of storage and a 6,000 square foot convenience store building. There's a gas station that goes with it, with 3 gas pumps servicing up to 6 vehicles. And the idea of this convenience store and the scope of it is to be able to provide not only a gas station and a convenience store, but a sort of market location as well, with deli, some produce, and to be able to provide anyone traveling along Route 4 with a nice place to stop and to get hopefully more than just, crackers and booze, ideally, is what we're hoping for. We have some nice concept drawings, including a floor plan that were put together by Winter Holben, and detailing the layout of the building, as well as a rendering of what the building will look like approximately once it is done. For anyone that wants to see that, I'm sure there will be some questions about that therein, but I know there have been, I did my homework, I read ahead and saw that there were some abutters that specifically had some qualms about the size of it. If you want an idea of what we're doing with that space, it's here. And we are happy to answer any questions relating to what we're aiming to do and how. Okay, thank you.
Could I just ask before you walk away, so the renderings that you have here are pretty much the final, what this building is actually going to look like and square footage? Because I think the square footage has changed since you guys initially came in here as well.
Hello, my name is Robert Whitemeyer. I'm with Winter Holben. We're the architect on the project. To answer your question directly, right now we're currently sort of in the concept schematic plan layout. So I would probably say with pretty good confidence that as we get into specific types of equipment that's getting in there, specific types of services that are getting provided in there, that this will change. But the overall concept, the idea, the appearance of it, I would say,
Square footage.
we want to keep it consistent on that. Square footage, I can tell you right now the square footage on this is less than the 7,500 that was on the initial. Right there, what you're looking at plan-wise, I think we're at like 7,300 right now.
Okay.
So we're continuing the massage and work it.
I guess my question just is, it's not going to be 8,500 at the next meeting? Okay. That's really pointedly my question.
Yeah.
No.
I don't anticipate it growing.
Okay.
Also, to speak to that, as the engineer that did the drafting for all of our engineering designs, we wouldn't be having any surprise changes without significant documentation and a revision to our application, which we won't, because our stormwater design and all of the way that we've laid out our site is entirely contingent upon the size of the building. If anything, it would only get smaller. It would not get larger under any circumstances.
Okay.
And again, as Mr. Wedemeyer had expressed, we've changed the building is no longer a perfect rectangle. It's changed around a little bit. There may be some additional changes as they work through their concept designs, but this gives you a pretty good idea of what things are going to look like, and it will not be expanding any larger as you would.
And that's basically what I'm looking for, is this is generally what we're looking at, so that, we know exactly, I say exactly, but we know relatively what it is we're talking about, what size, what the building's going to look like, et cetera.
Yes.
That's good. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we have several that were emailed in, so let us know when you want us to.
Okay, we'll do them after
At the end.
after the public has something to say.
Who's first?
Oh, yeah. Hey, you can come up and look at them.
Gary Chandler, 13th Circuit Road. I wrote up a little thing so I could stay on point. The lot, proposed lot is right behind my house. Every single window in the back of my house will be looking right at the lot. Used to be part of the house that I own. I guess it was sold off before I bought it, and so it's kind of a sad day for me and my family. Is every window is going to go from like a picturesque portrait of the main hayfield to a modern, very, I'm sure, brightly lit gas station and petrol station sitting on the aquifer that feeds my well, and my family drinks it. I'm vehemently opposed to this. I couldn't say it anymore. There's just so many concerns we have, but the biggest one is the drinking water. There's so much spillage. You put asphalt in anything. I don't care if you even have, petroleum, which you're going to be putting there. You're going to salt you're going to put asphalt down. You're going to have thousands of cars on it all the time. You're going to have delivery trucks on it all the time. You're going to have dumpsters being emptied on it all the time. You've got trash bins. We're in a wind tunnel that we live in, basically because of the farming fields and the golf course. So the wind is just constant, and it's great. But with trash, it's going to blow it everywhere. We get trash now. I can't imagine once we have you guys in your trash bin at every pump that you have, as well as the cardboard that the girl making $12 an hour is throwing out in the dumpster. I'm sure that it's going to take wind and be right in the back of my house pretty quick. And again, my biggest point is the drinking water. Right now, we bathe, we drink it with it. I know my wife is she couldn't be here, but she's very concerned about that. And there's a couple other concerns, less important than the drinking water, but important to probably a lot of the neighbors is property values. I mean, you look out the back of my house, like I said, the 7 windows that are in the back of my house, from the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the living room, all see this field. Now they're going to see this. Right away, my property value is instantly going to go right down as soon as anyone, if I was to go to sell this, and they're like, oh, you got to stop and go right there. It's not, there's a reason why, you don't see a lot of portraits painted of gas stations. You do of haying fields. You know, there's a reason why. It's not something you want in your backyard, and basically 40 feet from the back of my house. Also, you know, so right there we got to take a hit in our property values. And then we got to deal with your trash, which you know is going to happen. I know you can mitigate some of it. You can say, oh, I'll put covers. We'll make sure we stay on top of it. Again, you got low-wage employees that are going to be emptying your trash. You're going to have a rush at a certain time. You only have so many trash barrels that get filled. Every gas station I've been to has an overflowing trash. Yeah, I guarantee you if you go out to the closest one here, there's going to be one of the trashes overflowing. That's a constant battle they have. And then in addition to that, I was at the site walk, and all the parking, I see how you're setting up the parking. A lot of it is just facing my house. So right now I have no headlights hitting my house. I have no lights. I look out the back, it's dark, other than an occasional car going by. But now I'm going to have thousands of headlights hitting me on a daily basis. We're going to lose all of our, you know, it's basically light pollution. There's a reason why there's organizations called Dark Skies that are out there, because they're trying to keep light from polluting into other neighbors and everything else, as well as aiming up. And then, in addition to that, you're going to have just your normal type of noise pollution. Kind Farms moved in. They had an alarm go off constantly. They fixed it finally. It's a nice-looking place. They couldn't have done it any better. It fits perfect. Like the whole decor of Kind Farms fits perfect. And in Maine, looks great. Not like that. A modern thing that I don't know. It doesn't fit in a Maine cow town. It doesn't look anything like we have any neighbors or anything else. It's like not even trying. Cumberland Farms at least makes things clapboard and tries to look like a house or something. But this, I don't know what that's supposed to be. Looks like a bomb shelter to me, and that's going to be, again, in my backyard with a bunch of lights and everything else. So we're going to have alarms going off now. We're going to have diesel trucks idling in the winter, while they make deliveries. You're going to have Frito-Lay out there, Pepsi, Coke, every vendor running their vehicles. So now we're going to have diesel exhaust constantly because they're going to be sitting there. You're also going to have the noises at night. You're going to have dumpsters being emptied. None of this was there before. This hayfield has been pretty quiet so far, with the very good neighbors. So it's going to be a shock to the system, and naturally, like the concerns I brought up. But I just don't see how you can get by the water. How can we get by a drinking water putting petroleum? I can see that you can say, all right, well, we can deal with the trash. We'll mitigate this. We'll mitigate that. How do you mitigate the water? There's just no way. I mean, there's, I work for the government and, the shipyard, and we do all kinds of things. I do huge contracts. We do so many mitigation things. And you know what? These companies, General Dynamics, Electric Boat, we do a lot of mitigating. None of them can be absolutely 100%. You can never mitigate down to zero. And here we are putting a gas station on an aquifer that feeds our wells. That's the one thing that you're like, okay, we can mitigate. We can deal with your less than zero mitigation on trash, light pollution. You can put up a fence. You can put up some trees. You can guarantee, you can do different things like that. But there's no way to mitigate the water. I just don't see any way around it. So that's my piece, and sorry to start off so negative to you guys, but I have to tell you the truth. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
I got a couple concerns. I'm Gary's neighbor. I'm 5 Circuit Road.
Can you say your name, please, sir?
Steve Moyson. I'm pretty much going to be right across from it, too. And part of my concerns are, yes, the water. I'm really concerned about the water. But I've been in the house for quite a few years. I've probably had about 20 cars on my yard, literally right up in my yard because of the Circuit Road, the Blackberry Hill turn there. And Kind Farm came in. It's a real nightmare mowing my lawn. So I don't mow with the traffic because they're if you know that turn, people make the left-hand turn, they go down the side. I have a shop door with stickers on it from the car windshields from my lawn. So this thing's going to go in. I want to know if there's going to be a traffic light here because that's going to be a nightmare. I'm just telling you. Because Kind Farm came in, all those people that set up for Kind Farm, that bank, and that place, the Blackberry Turn, I don't mow with the traffic because I've had them come on my lawn with me mowing the lawn. My wife says, mow against it, mow with it. So that's my concern. And the water, it's right there at my backyard, and I have a well, I have a shower.
Islands going up? Raised Island on the road.
Yeah, Mark,
Well, I don't know,
we'll get
but
to that.
I don't want to.
Mark?
It's his turn.
I don't want
to.
to.
Yeah.
I don't want to figure out, the traffic thing later because I want to know that, and the water thing. I have a shallow well, so I just want to. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Denise Mallet, Lovebrook Road, 47 Lovebrook Road. I'm not in a butter, and I won't necessarily repeat all of them, although I agree with those issues. Just a couple of things. They're sort of comments, sort of questions. I do agree that my number one concern is the traffic, and even long before Kind Farms went in, I think most of us are probably still traumatized in some way of losing somebody along that stretch. So it can't possibly put in something of that size without really looking at traffic, speed, lights. I'm not sure what has to be done, but I can't imagine that this would work without some modification. I'm curious what the proposed hours would be. Does anybody?
That
is
comes
something?
in, we answer after the public.
Great. Okay, so that's my question: is what are the hours going to be? And then the light is kind of the big issue for me. So I'm down Lovebrook Road, a mile down the road, and I can still see, some of the lights from the storage units and I years ago came in and asked you guys about it, read the ordinance, supposed to be downward facing, blah, 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 and I keep looking at the lights thinking these are not downward facing. And when I came in and asked, I don't know if any of you were even here, but I think the answer I got was, yeah, that wasn't done right. And so, my question, I don't see any lights on any of these drawings. So, I love the dark sky thing. I would love it if we could, maintain that. I don't really expect that we can, but there are a lot of good new technologies to be able to develop and not just completely destroy we do have a beautiful night sky here. So, that's partly a comment, partly a question because I don't see any of that on the drawings here. So those are my concerns. I know we have to grow and develop, but I do hope that we can do it in a proportional size. This does seem gigantic.
Thank you.
Nobody else is moving, so I guess I will. Hello, Mary Ignatiadis, 23 Overlook Drive. This is the first time I'm seeing this. With regards to the size, and with regards to what it is fundamentally, as a young person who has chosen to invest building a life here in the town, I am concerned with every building that goes in, every business, that it is something that will allow the town to grow in a positive way into the future. I have a background in economic development here in the state of Maine, and it's very important to me that the town wisely helps businesses choose to install infrastructure that will meet our future needs, not just our needs now. So, something that's not going to be a burden on our energy supply, something that's going to allow us to fuel the electric cars that we all know are coming very quickly as the state of Maine continues to roll out that infrastructure, as electric cars continue to get cheaper. That's not today, might not be 5 years from now, but it probably will be 10 years from now. And we want to think about, are we attracting truck drivers, like big long-haul truck drivers 10 years from now? Or are we attracting people who want to build a life here too? And so that's something that I think about when I look at these types of projects, and I would encourage everyone else to think in that sort of 5, 10, 15, 20-year time horizon as well, thinking about the kind of infrastructure that we're going to need then and whether this project, as it is designed currently, meets that or whether it will need further adjustment. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm a concerned citizen. My name is Peter Cook. I'm a resident of Berwick, and I'm extremely impressed with the comments of my friends and neighbors who spoke before me this evening. I think you're really right on target. I'm going to use my age as a sword as well as a shield tonight. Good evening. The allotment of 5 minutes response time is totally unreasonable, unrealistic, and unfair for citizens to be able to react to the wealth of environmental data relevant to this proposed project. On behalf of our community, I'm going to take a different tact that is indeed relevant and important for your consideration this evening. 45 years ago, I was on the board of Historic Boston. We were negotiating with the BRA, the Boston Redevelopment Authority, to save and revitalize 2 empty historic buildings, Quincy Market and Faneuil Hall. We were successful in the restoration and planned adaptive use, yet we were concerned about the surrounding environment for parking, for historic preservation, and public space utilization. The huge adjacent that came later property, Government Center, continues to this day to be a massive city problem. The planning board and government officials failed to consider the big picture. Closer to home, in South Berwick, Dunkin' Donuts is in total compliance. It's a viable business. Yet that drive-through facility is wedged between an elementary school and an important colonial residence that is critical to the historic fabric and character of the town. The drive-through lane is a danger during the day because of the high children foot traffic at critical times. The planning board needed to consider the big picture. Route 4, South Berwick, we all know it, recently put in a new residential street near the town line near Outlook Golf Course. That means, on the plus side, added tax revenue as well as more housing. It also means 50 more cars spilling into Route 4 toward the legendary South Berwick backup. Appropriately and ironically, the name of that street is Bittersweet. It seems to me that the planning board and community failed to consider, once again, the big picture. Berwick planning is at a critical planning juncture. We are growing, in spite of ourselves and with our families growing as well. But we must look beyond the regs and consider the community's future. Many years ago, the state of Maine engaged me and a colleague to do two-day workshops for planning boards, commercial and residential real estate developers, and the public if they so desired. We did these for several years. They were extremely popular. A key component of the program was that in planning, communities need to consider functional use, appropriate aesthetic or scale, as well as the very important social context. These 3 considerations are just as important as the attendant engineering data. The Cumberland Farms gas station in our town here in Berwick is a constant traffic jam of merchandise trucks trying to unload, cars waiting half in the street to get to the pumps, and locked doors for access to the building. That gas station convenience store needed better planning. The bottom line of our hard work that we did over the years in developing a comprehensive plan was to retain our rural, historic, traditional, small-town country character that some people have already spoken to. Scale has to be considered. For example, the new huge blue metal House of Hope gym is totally out of scale in its semi-residential setting. It is also a blatant socio-visual intrusion to the concept that we're looking for in the community hoped for waterfront park area across the street. Our goals, our future. The huge Route 4 gas station convenience store complex will negatively impact the residents, as you've heard, existing thriving businesses, traffic flow, our environment, and our community's desire for a peaceful, rural, historic setting to be preserved. I ask that the Planning Board consider the desires and wills of the community, the big future picture as well, instead of favoring a commercial proposal that will negatively impact all of us in so many ways. Thank you, and I would welcome communication to me from my fellow citizens. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Brian Barrington, Coolidge Law Firm, 98 High Street. I'm a counsel for the Patels. You want a mega corporation coming in, you want Cumberland Farms. You have a stretch of road, Route 4, let's get real. Route 4 is a major intercity transportation route. If you want to have electric cars, you need to have charging stations. Currently have gas cars, you need to have gas stations. This is a store being built by someone who lives in Rollinsford, has a store in Rollinsford, has a store in Elliott. It's smaller, it's local, it's a family business. This is not a mega corporation. You are going to have, because of the need on Route 4, someone's going to come in with something a whole lot bigger and a whole lot more complex. They want to actually do a market. They want to have vegetables. Now, this is not against zoning. It's a special exception on the planning board. It wants to be a market for food. Gas is a requirement of transportation. Certainly, nothing this business will do will increase the traffic on Route 4. It's already there. And so really, as the town grows and the reality of Route 4 is before you, you want to have a local business person who lives locally, right across the border in Rollinsford, that has stores and responsive, or you want some mega corporation to come in and do the same thing. In terms of groundwater, there are huge requirements by the state, by the Maine DES, for double-sided tanks, for groundwater and drainage management and capturing of it. These things are all well known and scientifically done. Right now, you have 1,000 gas tanks a day going by, and any one of them, as you've heard multiple times, misses, goes into people's houses. Every single one of those potential car crashes could go into groundwater. And there's almost no way to control that. Also, by having a business there, I'm a runner, I've run there. That's a really fast road right now. You start adding businesses, and people may actually see that there's traffic coming in, traffic going out, and it's going to slow down. But as we know, people are going 75, 80 there when they hit the right-of-way, and they just keep on going. People's houses are already on Route 4. They're not out in the middle of the country, in the middle of the woods. And so we ask that you allow this project to go forward for the Patels. You can work on the design, but I can tell from having been their attorney for 15 years, you have an applicant who's local and responsible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Allison Graybill, 10 Pond Road. I live in Berwick. For those of you who don't know, Pond Road is right across the street from Kind Farms. So I agree with everything that my neighbors have said. I guess what I wanted to ask of the applicant and the planning board is really what's the compromise here? You know, it is a huge building. I think the architect said it's a modern twist on a barn. I don't get that vibe. You look at Kind Farms, and Kind Farms did a very nice job to assimilate themselves into the community. To the attorney's points, I don't know how much the planning board can impact this project. I know you'll be thorough, and you'll look at all the regulations and make sure that you protect our interest and the interest of the applicant. And so I guess I just say to the Patels, I ask you to really reconsider this design. The size of the building is huge. I walked, I was at the site walk, and what really stood out to me is that every square foot of that property is being used. And so I don't know if the gentleman's here who lives in the gray house, but the parking, you drive in, which is only one entrance, so I don't understand why there's only one. It seems like it would be better if there were two. But you drive in and you park to the left. Pardon me?
No, we're not. We don't.
Keep speaking.
Don't talk in the audience when people are speaking, please. It muddies the microphone recording. for people
You're
at
welcome to
home.
address that. If safety is not an issue.
They'll address
it's
it in
fine.
old business.
So my point being is when you drive in and you take a left, there's parking there, so the lights will shine right on that gray house, and they have proposed putting trees. And so it was nice to hear at the site walk that a fence would be considered. I think that just really needs to be considered. So then I thought, well, why does parking have to be there? Why can't parking be on the side of Kind Farms? That would just be a neighborly thing to do. And then I realized it's probably because this building is so big, and that's just the best spot. That's the best spot for the parking to be. But if you were to reduce the size of the building, which would be which would conform to the ordinance that we just passed, I just think it would be, to your attorney's point, a neighborly thing to do. I'm sure you're good people. It's just hard for us to welcome this project, whether it's on Route 4 or not. It is where we live. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Cook. I didn't plan to speak, and I'll try not to repeat what's been said, but I do want my voice heard as well. Some of my concerns are the same as others. I don't live in the neighborhood there, but if it were my neighborhood, I would be devastated. I would be devastated that a commercial building could be so close to my home. I realize this might be water under the bridge. It might be a result of our lack of planning in the past. But I would beg the Patels to move up Route 4, maybe stay in Berwick if they can. Route 4 is a long stretch between South Berwick and North Berwick. There are parts of the road that have many commercial type of ventures on them. For example, the storage units, the bus station, the feed store. There's a long stretch that is not residential. And I think that is where a building like this should be. Not as close to the South Berwick Village or to the end of Blackberry Hill Road, where we have residences. And fortunately, we still have some nice open space that we talk about wanting to keep here in Berwick and South Berwick. I know that there will always be stores to come. It did surprise me about this market, just because I feel like on each of the legs of the South Berwick Village unit, we have a Cumberland Farms, and a nice Nature's Way market right in the village. So it's not as though we can't get these things within, I would say, 2 miles. All right. Now, I know people traveling might not want to stop in the village. They'd rather stop on an open stretch. But again, slide it down the road, please, if still possible. I would also, and I know you know this, speak to the traffic on Route 4. It's really fast. I travel on it every day to work. I do make the left-hand turn coming out of South Berwick onto Blackberry Hill Road. Every day, scared, waiting to make my left with cars beside me. I don't know that every business on Route 4 can have a turning lane. Be certainly nice if they did. It's a frightening road. I've written numerous times to the Maine DOT. They know me so well that they actually call me now when I write to them. I've written to them about the train tracks in Berwick, the train tracks in North Berwick, safety concerns when I see a tree hanging over the road. They're very responsive. I've written to them about a couple of years ago now about the Blackberry Hill turn and the need for a turning lane, a left-hand turn lane there. They have it on their radar. They've said it's not the most needy site in the state, so it hasn't been. It isn't. It's on. They know about it, but it's not on their radar to fix it. What else was I going to say? I know people who've been rear-ended there personally. I think I've forgotten something I wanted to say, but I'll stop there. Blackberry Hill Road, what was I going to say? Oh, anyway. Okay, so yes. Imagine there are people involved in the traffic concern and in and out and all that, but all along there we do have a concern. And of course everyone knows there's the daily concern with the people commuting, but then the weekend concern, as someone mentioned, with the South Berwick, North Berwick traffic backing up is pretty significant. So please do what you can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Pat Bovair. I live on Blackberry Hill, off Blackberry Hill Road. There are a couple of things that I'm hoping that the planning board makes sure they cover. Police, different police opinions about the area, not just accidents right there at that section, but all along Route 4. I hope that you'll plan on contacting the South Berwick Water Supply about their wells and inform them of this project. I'm hoping that there's some kind of liability bond or insurance that the Patels will be putting up for closure of this station when the time comes, for whatever reason it is. I think it's very important when I see the design of the gas station. It certainly isn't, an Irving Station appearance, but it certainly is not what our comprehensive plan and our design standards and that type of thing is looking for. We're looking for something that looks New England, that looks rural southern Maine. It's like start over because this isn't it. So please reconsider the entire look of the place. I would have to look for a while as far as the store design and whatever. But from what people are saying, I'm concerned if so much of the parcel is covered. I just want to make sure that the right amount is covered. I know only a certain amount of a parcel can be covered with stuff, and then I don't know how. I don't know those rules. But if so much of this is going to be covered with parking and things, hopefully, that can be considered. And I also would like to think that there is something that can be done about the water. This area has had some experience with problems with leaking gas tanks. North Berwick had a problem up on Cabbage Hill many years ago with just a old-fashioned kind of gas tank, not the kind that's double-walled like today. The pollution spread a mile to the wells in a mile radius, and North Berwick had to end up running a water line extension from there to remedy the problem. I don't really think Berwick has the capability of doing that if there would be some kind of an issue with this. This is something that, you don't go back from it. It's irrevocable if this happens. Another interesting thing that I just heard about was that not in our right in our area, but over at Mr. Mike's. I don't know if you're familiar with that store across from the pool in Dover, at that intersection. They also had just a pinhole leak, I think, in one of their tanks around the year 2000, and it contaminated the surrounding wells around there. It doesn't have to be a very big leak. It's only some infinitesimal amount of gasoline. If it gets into your water system, that's it. The town in the past has taken a strong stance on water, and I hope that they do it again. They required, I don't know how many years ago, whenever Sunrise Hill Mobile Home Park came into existence, they required them to have testing wells and things like that in order, I don't know exactly what, but things that could be monitored over and over to make sure that there was no problem there. This is nothing new for the town of Berwick to make sure that their water supplies are guaranteed. Also, here from the golf club, things were required of them. I don't know if that was Berwick or South Berwick. And they do well monitoring every 6 months from now till eternity, as long as they're there. So people, like I said, whether it's Berwick or South Berwick, people don't fool around with water. You only have one chance with your water. And granted, the new tanks are double walled and have alarms and all this stuff. We all know the story. It's man-made. Errors can occur in construction, and it only takes, like at Mr. Mike's, a pinhole leak somewhere in someone's welding job or whatever, and that's that. So I hope that you guys take a very strong approach to the water. There are some kind of hydrogeological things that can be done. I'm not sure don't know, it's not my business, but I don't know about it, but you can put in some kind of wells that will monitor and catch any kind of pollution that might occur, and hopefully in time. Don't be afraid to require that, especially because that area of South Berwick and not only affects the South Berwick wells, but it affects a couple working farms in that area, and anyway, it's critical. I also know that in November the town has voted upon certain rules and conditions that they would like to have gas stations have, and also some design standards for housing or buildings that are going out on our routes. And I know that this was put into they asked for their permit or whatever it is, they put in their application before any of this went on. But I hope the Patels realize that the town has spoken about what they would like to have, and following our comprehensive plan about what we want for our town and open space and rural spaces. And I'm hoping that the more the applicant complies with what the town wants, then it'll be better for the town, it'll be better for the applicant's business, as people will be happy to support efforts made to make the project the best that it can be in Berwick.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Roz Edelberg. I have a question for the board as it's...
Could you repeat your name, ma'am? I'm sorry.
Pardon?
Could you repeat your name, please?
Roz, R-O-Z.
Yep.
Edelberg, E-D-E-L-B-E-R-G.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm curious, I've been in town a few years, but I'm curious, does the planning board or who is it that would have, does anybody have a master plan for the town of what you see as far as what you would like to see growth and how you would like it to grow and what you would want to put into the town in order for it to grow? And does this fit in the master plan? Okay, and also, I don't know if Envision Berwick is part of doing stuff as far as a master plan. I have to ask them myself, but I don't know if they work in conjunction with you or who does this, who's in charge of, deciding what you want to see for Berwick, not just now, but for the future. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Kristen Moisen, 5 Circuit Road. My husband spoke earlier. I guess what my concerns are also with the traffic, too. When they came in and widened the road a few years ago, I thought for sure they were going to put a turning lane onto Blackberry Hill because, as he said, there are cars all the time that end up in our lawn. God forbid somebody end up dying. Our friend did die down in front of the Kine Farm. I think it was last year. But that is my concern. So if there's all this space going into a building, but how much parking is going to be there? Are there going to be people hanging out on Route 4 trying to get in? That's my concern. Or are they ending up over in my lawn? But also, there's a lot of people who cut down our road. And I've lived there since 2008, and our road has has yet to be paved. There's always pieces of asphalt everywhere. I have fallen myself and have hurt myself on that road. So I'm imagining there's going to be more traffic cutting down our road to maybe turn around and get there to the store or whatever. So that is, a concern with the traffic. Yeah, my taxes keep going up. They've doubled almost since I've moved there, and I'd like to see my road get paved at least once. So if there's going to be a new project here while you're at it, we can go over there and do that too. But, like what other people have said, like the building, like how Kine Farm looks, it's very nice, to have that kind of vibe, that feel. Originally, I had heard that there were going to be 3 pumps, and then I heard 6, so I'm assuming there's going to be, it's double-sided, right? 3 pumps per thing? Okay. So, yeah, that is my concern, is definitely, the traffic and also the water, too. Right now, I drink it right from my faucet. We used to get it from our fridge and it had a filter on it, but I don't even need a filter on my faucet. So I'm hoping that, I'm kind of thinking that if this happens, that I'm going to have to put something on there because I don't trust, sadly. Yeah, so those are my concerns, and I think I've touched on everything that I can think of. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stina Brazelton, and I live on Berwick Road. So I'm not in a butter, but immediately I'm concerned about the traffic and that intersection that's already there, adding another one, which in effect something that big adds. And I don't understand why we need something that big. It seems really out of place. And it seems that we have Cumberland Farms, Gateway. Do we really need another fuel station? And I'm also worried hugely about property values as I watch for the last 25 years what's happened in Berwick and the incredibly tiny amount of care that goes to open spaces and things that make the town what we all came here to find. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have another couple minutes, and no one else is going.
Well, I have a question for you, Pat. Do you no longer want me to read your statement that you had sent?
Oh.
Or do you still?
We have
Do
5.
they all have the statement?
I have a copy.
We do.
They do all have a copy.
Yeah.
You have a copy as well.
But it's if you want me to read it, I can read it. If you want to just continue to speak, you can continue to speak. If the chair allows you to, but I just needed to know that regardless before I get reading these statements.
Oh, are you reading a bunch of statements that you
Yes.
received?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to say one other thing.
Okay, just be quick, because
I will. One thing.
you're already
I
8 minutes.
I feel that.
You gotta speak to the mic.
Oops, sorry. I feel like not enough emphasis has been placed on the size of the building. I feel like, like I said, I haven't had a chance to look at the building or whatever, but to me, the size is something way bigger than that would be appropriate for what we would want. And the new ordinance is requiring 3,000 feet or square feet or less, and this is 6,000 plus 1,500 storage. So I hope that's considered.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, if you want to read
Okay, just so I'm clear, am I reading the statement from the Beauvairs as well?
Yeah, just all the statements that.
I'll read all of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, for Marie Miller, 13 Amore Street, I have followed along and been in support of the increased regulations for future gas stations moving into Berwick. I understand that citizens worked with our code enforcement officer and planning board to write these new regulations and have them ready for the town to vote in the November 7th election. Along with many other residents, I voted in favor of amending the land use ordinance to adopt these new regulations. I learned recently that because of the paperwork for the new stop-and-go gas station moving in came in before the 7th, that this business will not need to follow the new size restrictions and is more than double in size what the new regulations will allow. I am hopeful that the owner of the stop-and-go will take into consideration the fact that Berwick residents voted on a maximum square footage of 3,000, which is in line with the size of his other gas station locations. Our neighbors and community members have worked hard over the past several months to put into regulation restrictions on gas stations that will help to reduce environmental impacts as well as other negative side effects of a gas station moving in, decrease property value, light pollution, increase traffic. I urge the owner of the Stop and Go to listen to this community and build the Stop and Go in line with the new regulations. I ask that the planning board hold this business to additional environmental standards by requiring a groundwater monitoring plan where monitoring takes place at least once a year. I believe there is a way that we can grow while maintaining the charm of Berwick and considering the environmental factors that each growth opportunity brings with it. By taking into serious consideration each opportunity for growth and working with community members to come up with ordinances that feel like a good fit for Berwick, we can plan for the Berwick that will exist 20, 40, and 60 years from now. Thank you.
You can't hear.
Oh, you can't hear me?
No.
Okay, sorry.
Go to the mic.
I don't want to go to the mic. They got me locked in the corner. Hold on.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Thank you for letting me know. This one is from Elise Weeks at 29 Hall Road, Berwick. Good evening. I'm unable to attend the public hearing this evening, but wanted to write in with some thoughts regarding the Stop and Go Berwick gas station and convenience store. I'm a resident, parent, business owner, and volunteer in Berwick. When I initially heard about plans for the new gas station and convenience store to be built so closely to farmland and rural residential areas in Berwick, I was saddened and concerned. I applaud the tireless efforts of friends and neighbors in the community to collaborate with our code enforcement officer to craft smart, common sense land use ordinance for these types of businesses. Just going to interject, that wasn't all me, but you guys. It's clear the new land use ordinances are something our town supports since they were voted in last week. While this is positive development for future businesses, I encourage the planning board to enforce these regulations for Stop and Go as well before development begins, when we'll no longer have an opportunity to prevent the many potential issues this type of business presents. We have an opportunity to reduce water contamination, pollution, decrease property values, potential for crime, etc., before those issues could become something that may never be able to be reversed. I was encouraged to hear that other properties this business owner has are in line with the 3,000 square foot requirements we just voted in, and I would strongly encourage the planning board to require that this location also adhere to those guidelines that are now a requirement in Berwick. Berwick is a beautiful town and we cherish our farmland. Clean air, water, and agricultural spaces are becoming more compromised all the time, and we cannot take what we have here in Berwick for granted. Something that I admire so much about this town is the ability to affect positive change. Thank you for your time and consideration. Okay, and then we've got three more. To the leaders of our wonderful town of Berwick. In 2020, I, along with my husband and 3 children, moved back to Berwick after I'd been away since leaving for college in 1998.
Parrish. Who is this?
Should start with the name at the end.
Thank you.
Amy Guptill Blow, 534 School Street. It's a letter. I just started at the top. Okay, in 2020, I, along with my husband and 3 children, moved back to Berwick after I had been away since leaving for college in 1998. We moved from an extremely populated and built-up area, and we looked forward to the breath of fresh air that my hometown would bring. This proposed gas station will be in a beautiful area of Berwick I pass each day. As I looked over the plans in the proposed all-too-large gas station, I was struck with so many cons rather than pros. Honestly, the only convenience I see would be for gas when I go out in the morning to my car, only to realize I'm completely on empty. This happens far more than I care to admit. Same. The potential crime, groundwater contamination, increase in traffic, air pollution, noise pollution, light pollution, reduced home value, and the overall dramatic change through for highly outweighs that convenience of filling my empty gas tank faster. In 2018, 4 precious lives were lost in a crash on Route 4 in Berwick. Last year, 2 more lives were lost, and there have been more over the last 5 to 10 years. As it stands, the increase in traffic from Kind Farms is already a problem. Without any traffic lights on this stretch of road, there will be more accidents. As of now, there are 8 gas stations within 5 miles of my home at 534 School Street, approximately 3.5 miles from the proposed site. At least 3 of those are also convenience stores. It is 12 minutes, just 6.9 miles from the Cumberland Farms in South Berwick to North Berwick. It is 12 minutes, 7.5 miles from the Berwick-Cumberland Farms to the North Berwick location. We have small, locally owned stores in both Berwick and Somersworth and South Berwick that carry many conveniences. We have Hannaford nearby that carries liquor and groceries. Our town and our area does not need another convenience store or gas station, and certainly not a 7,500 square foot one. It doesn't need more crime or car accidents. It doesn't need a reduction in home values. I stand against this proposal and implore you to consider the implications of this. Okay, and then this is Pat Bovair and Paul wrote this letter in. My husband and I are writing this letter about the proposed gas station convenience store on Route 4. We have worked with the planning board to develop performance standards for this type of business and have design standards for the Route 4, 9, and 236 business corridors. Although these standards will not be voted on until November, both Planning Board and Board of Selectmen at a joint meeting agreed that these future standards would become the conditions applied to any gas station or convenience store that was proposed prior to the November vote, since the boards had been informed there were no standards for a business of this type in the existing land use ordinance. The performance standards developed for the warrant article are basic. The Planning Board should be following these conditions as minimum requirements. There should be no negotiating on these basics. It is under the Planning Board's purview to add any additional conditions, particular to the building site and the neighborhood. These are expected to be stricter than minimum standards. The proximity of the proposed station to the town of South Berwick's water wells requires notification of that town for their input on the project. A liability bond or insurance should be required to cover future closure or cleanup. A hydrogeological study should be required to map the groundwater flow, and permanent monitoring wells installed to monitor any future contamination. The town of Berwick required these wells 3 decades ago of the Sunrise Hills Mobile Home Park due to the proximity to South Berwick wells and local farms that are still active today. A previous example that Berwick should learn from was the groundwater contamination on Cabbage Hill in North Berwick from an underground gasoline tank that required North Berwick to remediate by installing town water to that distant area. We do not want Berwick placed in a similar, very expensive situation. We must be sure, beyond state-of-the-art minimums, that our town, farmlands, and residents are protected from any future contamination. We would like the Planning Board to hold a public hearing for the preliminary plan as well as the final approval so that local residents are well informed of the steps that the Planning Board will take to make this gas station convenience store the best it can be for Berwick, adhering to the minimum proposed performance and design standards and additional conditions particular to the building site and neighborhood. The Planning Board must evaluate how the rural character of this area of Route 4 and its property values with its farms, wedding venue, golf course, and residences will be negatively affected by a business of this type. Statistically, property values decrease and crime increases. This proposed business will bring increased revenue to Berwick, but will devalue the surrounding property values and compromise the rural nature and aesthetic appeal of the area. The Planning Board has the opportunity to demonstrate to the townspeople that it has the backbone to uphold the goals of Berwick's comprehensive plan by demanding stringent standards and conditions for an allowable but potentially hazardous use that could permanently affect our farmlands and rural character. Please stand strong. And then this last one is from Michael Laturer. He's a Berwick resident and select board member. Dear members of the Berwick Planning Board, I am writing to express my support for the proposed gas station in accordance with the existing land use ordinance rules at the time of the application. I believe that while there are recently approved changes to our land use ordinance, this development aligns with the town's vision and contributes positively to Berwick's growth and prosperity. The developer has demonstrated a commitment to investing in the town's success, which is evidenced through their adherence to the established land use ordinance rules. To my knowledge, the developer has not requested one waiver for this project. It is crucial to recognize the value that responsible development brings to our community, providing not only economic benefits, but also fostering an environment that attracts businesses and enhances the overall quality of life for the residents. Moreover, the proposed gas station in Delhi addresses a practical need for our community. during inclement weather, especially for our senior-aged residents. Having nearby resources is essential. This gas station can serve as a convenient and accessible resource for necessities, ensuring the well-being of our seniors during challenging weather conditions. Additionally, in the Route 4 safety study run by Goral Palmer in conjunction with the Maine Department of Transportation, Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission, and various town officials, released in July of 2023, it is indicated that increased business activity naturally slows the average speed driven in the area. This finding underscores the positive impact that proposed businesses can have on traffic dynamics, promoting safer driving conditions and potentially reducing overall traffic speed. It is important to note that developers already navigate a complex web of state and federal regulations in their projects. Therefore, I urge the Planning Board to consider the extensive processes they undergo and refrain from imposing additional out-of-scope requirements that may hinder the progress of this project. In conclusion, I believe that moving forward with this project as presented aligns with the town's goals of attracting responsible development, supporting local businesses, and addressing the overall needs of our residents. I trust that the Planning Board will carefully consider the positive impact this project can have on Berwick and make a decision that benefits the community as a whole. Thank you for your time and dedication to ensuring the thoughtful and sustainable growth of our town. And thank you all for bearing with me. I didn't get a chance to read any of those in advance, so I stumbled.
Thank you, Irish. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? All right, seeing no one else, I'll make a motion that we close this public hearing.
Second that.
Okay, further discussion?
Wait, which one seconded it?
Les. Further discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you. All right, moving along, the first public comment. This is open to non-agenda items.
Is this the second copy?
All right, seeing no one coming in. Next is approval of minutes. So the first one is September 21st, 2023, and we have the right people. Today it's Paul, Rick, Les, and myself. I know it's been a while, but...
Oh, I remember them vividly. I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of September 21st as written.
And I will second that.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor?
I will abstain as I was not present.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Who abstained? Who voted?
I was not present, so
So
I
you?
abstained.
It was Paul, Rick, Les, and myself as voting members.
Okay, Rick, Les, Mike. Okay. Thank you, guys.
So October 19th, I'm a little... I couldn't look to see who was here. I know myself and Phil were here. I was trying to look up the minutes.
on the minutes?
They're not on the minutes?
I couldn't find it.
I was not here. The only one I missed was the 21st.
Which one, October 19th?
Okay, so Jerry was here.
Yeah.
The 19th of October.
Mike, Les, Jerry, and Phil.
Okay.
I will make a motion that we approve the minutes as drafted.
Second that.
All right, Les. I heard Les. Further discussion? All in favor?
I abstain.
Okay.
I abstain.
All right.
Next is November 2nd. People who are here is Paul, Don, Les, Jerry, and Rick.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as written.
I will second that.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor? Okay, and I'm abstaining.
And I will abstain as well.
Nice, we finally got them all caught up now. All right, so old business, Stop and Go Berwick, 355 Portland Street, conditional use, R70, Lot 12, Zone RCI. Yep.
And I do have a couple of bits of information for you about this, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Didn't get.
All right. Hi, everyone. Wyatt Page again from Adder Engineering representing the Patels. First of all, I wanted to thank the abutters. There were I've witnessed some abutters with less structured comments before. I think everyone was very well worded with their concerns and their complaints. I've made note of all of them. I will be reviewing them again. I made some special note of some particular points of interest, and I will start with just our adherence to the new requirements, the new performance standards that have been being placed on gas stations by the town of Berwick. It's my understanding when I remember before we had even started to present this project to the board, I believe it was Ms. Bovair had found out about the project and came before the board requesting that there be additional performance standards. I want to applaud that she has worked hard enough to have these extra things included. I will not, I won't lie to any of you. We were a little concerned on our side that it would be something that would impede the scope of our project, that it would be something that would limit us. And I'm very pleased to say that, to my understanding, we are in compliance with all of the new requirements and performance standards that are being placed on gas stations, with the exception of size, which I believe either Kevin or Robert will speak on later. But if anyone wants to review these and has looked at our project and believes that we're erring from any of these, as a show of good faith, I am more than happy to look over these new standards. I'm more than happy to try to find solutions where we can better meet them if we are falling short of them, because I do understand that this is the want of the people. Our client does care about the town, cares about the people and their wants and their needs, and we are going to try our very best to meet all of these performance standards as best we can, even though we are not necessarily bound to do so. I want to make that very clear. Moving on from that, traffic was a large concern from everybody. Very early on in this project, we submitted our traffic movement permit to Maine DOT, and very quickly we got involved with the Squirrel-Palmer safety study on Route 4 that was mentioned earlier. This is playing a very large role in our attempts to get a traffic movement permit. The short version of this is that they have this large corridor improvement plan that Squirrel-Palmer has drafted up, and we are being tied into this by the DOT. Our turning lanes, the location of the islands, which I believe someone in this vicinity had asked about earlier, all of these traffic improvements and road improvements that are shown on our plans were derived from these Squirrel-Palmer plans. All of our traffic improvements and all of these roadway changes come straight from this corridor study. My own boss is family friends with someone whose daughter who lost her life in one of these crashes on Route 4. We understand the concerns for that. What I do want to say is, for anyone who has not seen it already, we do have a traffic analysis that we performed for this project. It's available with the project materials, and I believe is posted with the rest of the project items on the town website. If anyone wants to see that, I strongly encourage you to do so. We had Diane Morabito of Sewell Infrastructure Solutions, I believe, was the one who conducted that study. She's a licensed professional, and I think her findings in the study were very all-encompassing. I very strongly encourage any of you to read up on that. I also want to mention part of this draft traffic movement permit and all of this stuff with the corridor study and what the DOT is asking us to do is that we are actually, based on the draft so far, we are going to be accountable for the cost of improvements of the turning lanes on Route 4 leading into our property. This is a large cost to us. I want to make that expressly clear. It's a lot of money to make those improvements. And I know, at least, if I'm remembering right, at least one of the letters, I read all of the ones that I got beforehand, before I came in here, had expressed that they don't understand why we have turning lanes. They think it will make things more complicated. I want to be very clear that the size, layout, and positioning of these turning lanes was given to us. We did not design them ourselves. The queue sizing and the placement and the effects that they had on traffic were engineered, to my understanding, by Squirrel-Palmer and looked over by the DOT. I wish I could take accountability for any of that, but we're simply, even the location of our driveway, we wanted to use that existing piece of driveway that's there currently. We're not able to do so because our driveway location was determined in this scoping meeting that we had with Maine DOT. There's unfortunately a big push and pull there where we have to appease them in order to get our traffic movement permit. We cannot open until we get that. There may even be a period after we've been, assuming we get approved, after we've been approved, after we've constructed, that we may not be able to open until the corridor study and any improvements to the roadway are complete. And I want to just the reason I'm saying all of this is I want to express to everyone that our traffic analysis is there for you to read. This traffic study from Goral Palmer, the corridor safety study, that's out there for you to read as well. And while it is currently only a draft, I encourage anyone who's interested in the traffic concerns to keep up on it. We're trying our very best to manage all of these things, and I do hear your concerns. I also do want to be clear. I think earlier it was implied that there wouldn't be additional traffic associated with the convenience store. I'm pretty sure there is, and I'm pretty sure that's covered very extensively in our traffic study. So again, anyone who wants to read over our traffic analysis, I strongly encourage you to do so, and I think we have things dealt with. Additionally, I know at least one person had mentioned want for a second entrance. We wanted that as well. I hate to even say the words, but if it sounded like we were laughing over there, it wasn't at any of the abutters or the commenters. It was at the irony that we wanted a second entrance as well. We can't do that. The location of our entrance wasn't even up to us. We had to. This is all, required by the DOT. By this, all of these things that we have to manage as we are designing our project and the way that our site is laid out. Okay, so that's all of that. As far as the drinking water concerns go, we have every intent to meet every need and every want of the board. Anything that you request from us as far as water, anything that we are required to do, we will be carrying out to the letter. We have our double-walled tanks. We have a petroleum plan that was provided by a consultant. And anyone who hasn't looked over these, again, they're included with the rest of the project materials, and we're happy to expand upon them as required. I can't say much more on drinking water and all of these things. I'm sure there will be plenty that the board has to offer us as far as comments, requirements, concerns, etc. And we are happy to speak to those, when they come up. On the topic of lighting, Terry had emailed us earlier today and said it won't be necessary for this meeting since it was, I believe it was day of notice, but there will be a lighting plan. I understand the concerns for, especially, I can't remember which gentleman it was, but the direct abutter had expressed concerns with the headlights. As we said, we're open to the idea of having a fence installed. If it's the collective desires of all parties involved, I don't see any reason why we couldn't put up some sort of a fence to hopefully alleviate that. The location of our parking and the location of our stormwater, unfortunately, is pretty well set in stone based on the sloping of the site and the way that the water has to drain. I know it's not ideal that we have parked vehicles that before they turn their cars off, their headlights will be pointing directly at an abutter. We're happy to do whatever the board requires us to do in order to alleviate that. If a stockade fence or something to that effect is asked for in order to help screen the lighting, we're amenable to that. But as far as the actual lighting plan, we work with a company called Exposure Lighting, and for many recent projects, I have had to request specifically that we adhere to any dark sky requirements. And it is my full intention, when we request that in the coming days, to make it clear to them. We have a lot of abutters that are very concerned about the lighting. We will be asking them to, as best they can, if not completely, to follow any dark sky guidelines in the design of the lighting of this property. And this lighting plan will be posted as soon as it's ready. Once it gets to the board, it will be on the website, and I encourage any who are keeping up with the project to be on the lookout for it. I believe one abutter had also asked about electric vehicle chargers. I'm sure my client will be willing to speak on it later, but it's my understanding that we are, in fact, looking into installing some electric vehicle chargers on the site as well. We already checked this with Diane Morabito, our traffic engineer. She doesn't believe that it will have any adverse impacts on our traffic study, on the traffic impacts of this project. So I think it's well within our scope if the Patels decide that this is something they want to pursue. It sounds like it may be. I think that may be something that would be added to our plans as well. What else is there on here? The one last piece is that I believe there was one comment relating to the coverage of the lot. It's my understanding that we're well within compliance on that matter, but if anyone has any, either coverage or otherwise, if anyone has any comments about parts of the ordinance that we're not currently in compliance with, we would certainly like to hear it, and we will do our utmost to address that immediately.
I'm assuming you were privy to the letter from our town manager regarding the South Berwick well issues? Do you have a
No,
copy of that letter?
that just was, that meeting happened at 4 o'clock.
Oh.
He wrote that memo right before he left. That was something I was going to
May I
address
read
once
this?
he was done.
Is it appropriate at this time?
I would like you to if it's all the same.
That would be the chair's decision if it's appropriate at this time. I was just
It's
something I was
relevant
going to address
to the
afterwards.
topic at hand.
I think if you wouldn't mind, if we could.
So this letter was drafted today by our town manager. It says November 16th, 2023, reasons South Berwick well. There is 2 deep water wells, if I'm not mistaken, that are
I'm well versed in the area. There are two wells that the town of South Berwick. I'm making myself go cross-eyed. Sorry. There are two wells that the town of South Berwick utilizes for their main water sources.
was
One
told
of
those
them.
are not used.
Well,
Am I
they
ill-informed?
actually have 4, and they have 2 that are within this somewhat of this area that they can utilize.
Okay. But they're
they're
not currently utilized.
Whether they're
correct?
currently using them or not is not something that I concerned myself with, because as far as I'm concerned, they're there. There are potential for them to utilize. We need to protect them as though they are being utilized.
They are
So,
being used.
right or wrong, whether they're being used or not, if there's potential for them to be online, we need to protect them as though they are, in my opinion.
May I?
Yes, but this particular one is, the one that this addresses is 3,700 feet away from.
So this letter, this is the first time I'm seeing it, but I do think it's germane to the situation. From our town manager, this evening I met with John Leach, South Berwick Water District Superintendent, and Irish Griffith, Berwick Code Enforcement Officer, to discuss South Berwick's well on Junction Road. I subsequently had a discussion with South Berwick Water District Engineer Dan, I believe it's pronounced Flake. I hope I'm not mispronouncing his name, and I apologize if I have. Here are the main points and concerns that were brought forward. The first one is Wright Pierce will be reviewing the 1994 Wellhead Protection Head study for the Junction Road well. Next bullet point. Groundwater flow from Route 4 was a primary concern in that report. Petroleum storage was called out specifically in the study, and it states a radial distance of 4,000 feet is recommended to protect the well. Third bullet point. The distance measured from the well to approximately the lot in question, I'm assuming the lot he's referring to is this project, correct?
Yes.
Was 3,700 feet. Wright Pierce will be measuring the distance once they have the site plan for more precise measurement. Wright Pierce will be reviewing the materials and conducting their own research and will produce a memo with recommendations, signed by our town manager, Mr. James Bellissimo.
Yes, I would like to add to that first of all, Wright Pierce already has it, and they are currently starting the review. Second, a couple of points. This is what I was going to cover when I had a moment to speak on it. Was they also sent because I was part of that conversation. John had already sent that out to the Maine Department of Health and Human Services drinking water program for their evaluation of it as well. And although they will not issue guidance per se, the way the engineers will, they will kind of give a don't worry about it or a yeah, you need to worry about it thing. To that end, the town manager had suggested that the board consider basically continuing this until we hear back from them on what that is, because something I asked for clarity on that John was able to give me very limited clarity on is, in the discussion I told him I've read Chapter 700, which is the state's wellhead protection for all of these things. The report itself actually does not call out fuel. It calls out automobile fueling stations in one place as far as within, and I thought I had that with me, but apparently I put it in the car to bring home this weekend. But it's within 1,000 feet there should not be any fuel stations within 1,000 feet. This falls outside of that. So I asked where the 4,000 foot came from because the state requires 1,000, and he said he believed it was a result of just making sure due to other test pits that were dug. But he's going to get back to me with a little more information on that as well.
So there wasn't a regulation that was cited for that, or is there
No.
a regulation?
No, that is and in the actual report itself, it is given as a suggested recommendation, not a requirement, that nothing be. And the requirement for the 4,000 square feet is actually not for fuel stations, it is for fuel tank storage. So large.
Who makes that recommendation? Who is
This
that coming
was
from?
this was the engineers that are currently reviewing it when they originally tapped that wellhead. They are the ones that made the recommendations. That's why they're the best people to review it. They're a third party, and incidentally, they handle South Berwick and Berwick's water supply.
Is this the
so-
94 plan?
You got it?
I'm just reading James' memo.
Oh, yeah.
Is it the 1994 wellhead protection ahead study? That's where they said the
Yes.
4,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so what is not allowed at all within 4,000 feet of this wellhead would be a fuel tank storage place. So not a fuel station, but a place where the fuel stations are getting their gas from.
Hence
Massive.
the tanks in the ground. I mean, is that a
No,
reason?
the massive fuel tank storage place, not a fuel station. They do
Okay.
call them out as, they call out fuel tank storage, and they call out fuel stations in that. So the fuel stations cannot be within 1,000 feet. Fuel tank storage facilities, which are the larger fuel stations that supply gas stations, those are prohibited within 4,000
Is that
square
in the
feet.
combined federal regulation or state, federal?
No, that's in just the recommendation from the engineers that did the well and did the mapping for that. That's nothing
So it's not
from the
just-
state.
Just for clarity, it's not a regulation, it's not
It's not a regulation,
required-
it's a recommendation.
It's a recommendation.
Yes,
So
and
just
they
to be
are
clear,
only-
Because that's two different things.
Yes, and they're only 300 feet shy, which is why the South Berwick, rather than throwing a
And the
flag
only
on the
ordinance you could
field.
find was for a gas station that says 1,000 feet.
Yes, that is per chapter, and that I do have here is chapter 700. It's the wellhead protection, and that's for all. So, yeah, it's actually.
While you're looking for that, I know South Berwick has been very amenable to including us on projects that abut our town line. And given this new information, would it be wise for us to do the same?
We
If there
already
is-
are.
we
That's
Okay.
why this meeting that
Okay.
happened at
Yeah.
4 o'clock happened, was
Okay.
we're being proactive on that end because we want to, and as I expressed to John and James today, we don't want the applicant wasting time. We don't want our citizens coming out stressing, worrying, or giving up their evenings to come here if this is something that's prohibited by law.
It just feels weird getting it at the 11th hour. That's
Well, this was
it's
the-
difficult on our end to digest.
We've
and
tried
do
all
our
week.
research and
We've
homework.
been trying all week to make an appointment to coordinate schedules, but this was 4 o'clock today was the earliest that John could meet. And actually, it was originally he was looking towards tomorrow, but in light of the public hearing tonight, he shifted things around and was able to make it work for this afternoon.
Gotcha.
It would not typically have been required at this stage for us to necessarily involve them at this juncture for this, but we felt, given the concerns of the town, it was worth it.
So procedurally, what is the action that that they're looking to accomplish today?
They already
Aside from
had.
the public hearing, what is?
Oh, sorry. Appointment day is in South Berwick.
Wake up, Hannah. Wake up.
Sorry.
Sorry, we lost the planner 5 miles back. Let's circle around.
Day is in the gas station. In theory, the action item tonight would be vote on completeness of the application to then. We've already done that.
No, we've already done that.
We've already done that.
So it would have been.
We're not really looking for anything. It would just be an approval.
Preliminary approval?
Yeah.
Okay. Can they do that, or should they table it like James has requested? Well, she looks into that. I don't know if Wyatt's done, or if you want me to hit the other couple things that I had for the board.
Well, Jerry had something.
Oh, sorry, Jerry.
Need a clarification on what you said. You said 1,000 feet for what?
With absolutely no fuel stations within 1,000 feet of that wellhead.
Okay.
And they are 3,000, as per South Berwick's measurements, They are 3,700 feet
I
away.
understand that.
Yeah.
But the wells across the road, which are less than 1,000 feet from the gas station, are all monitored by the South Berwick because all the water comes from those wells under that land. All those people?
John is about having, that's why the third-party engineer is reviewing it.
Okay.
Because
Just-
their concern was not about any of their concern is not about any one specific, but everything that they do that comes from that main 12-inch wellhead.
Right.
And
And it does affect the water table and the wells of all
yes,
the people
and
that have spoken
that is
tonight.
why that's for third party review. Now, something that James and I discussed this after the meeting and such. The applicant is welcome to either wait for our review from the engineer that is currently reviewing it in the main drinking water programs. John was very clear to me that the main drinking water program won't give any actual hardcore guidance, but their nod or their shudder. You're welcome to wait for that and see how it goes from there. You're welcome to do your own at your own expense, have that aquifer area evaluated and provide your own report if you feel that might be something that is kind of more to your benefit.
And if I can just get into this a little bit, every home, whether it's a butter or not, in that particular area of Berwick is sitting on top of that South Berwick aquifer. So every well that goes in there is in that aquifer. So I think that we have to be cognizant of the fact that every time we put a hole in the ground there, we're giving access to the aquifer. And so I just want this study to take that into account.
They will take that into consideration, I'm certain, but I'm sure that when you point that out, not to play devil's advocate, but not only is every well there drawing off of it, that means every house there is contributing to potential contamination. Yeah. It's no different than anything else on that aspect. Right. So the difference would be that I would have eagle eyes on these guys and so on, a bunch of others in the house.
And as Jerry pointed out, there are tests that are done yearly on those wells. The issue, and which, as I was doing a little studying on this, the issue is that the tests are never done for petroleum particles and distillates. They are only done for bacterias and arsenic and coliforms and those sort of things. Mm-hmm. So if we get down the road on this, and I don't know where we're going, I'm just putting this out there for the board, we need to make sure that the petroleum distillates are tested for as well in those wells if we have a testing program as required by the board.
That is something that I will ask the South Berwick Water District about and ask them if that's something that the engineering, I can email John on, well, I'll probably work this weekend, so I can email John and ask him if he can ask them for a recommendation on what he would suggest, what the engineers reviewing it would suggest as well, if you would like.
Yeah, I think that it's just safe to do it that way.
That sounds like a good idea.
It strikes me that there should be some type of regulation or some type of DEP regulation that covers that. I mean, I'm with you 100% that, we certainly want to make sure that the well's not being contaminated. I guess the question would be, how would we know if there are some petroleum distillates that it's coming from the gas station, it's not coming from the farmer dumping his tractor oil in the ground? I mean, that would be my only assumption, because, buying and selling property constantly, we always have to have environmental studies done on it to determine if, the buying has...
With all due respect to the board, too, it depends on what type of system they're putting in, because some of these fuel station systems, and I'm sure that poor Wyatt over here has no idea, and I'm not honestly sure if the owner knows in depth about it, but certain types of tank systems have monitoring wells adjacent to them, and that might be just something that the board wants to think about, or the owners and the developer want to think about. But what I will do, is I will email John and ask for recommendations from the engineers that are currently reviewing the water thing.
I think that would make me a little more comfortable. I agree.
I think it would make me comfortable.
Now, you guys are going to
more
have a
comfortable.
well on site as well. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
So, I mean, the big concern, more or less, would be your well at that point.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
you would be site one, like ground zero.
You'd know
for
ground zero, yes.
10
yes.
minutes.
Yes, Jerry?
To add to what is being said, there's two projects that have been just approved and are operating. Kind Farms is one, and 11 Pond Row is another. They both have monitoring requirements for chemicals and stuff going into the ground because they are on that South Berwick aquifer.
Yeah, but they're actually required to tank their water and such, so because
know,
that's
but
slightly different. I don't know
Does
that.
it get done?
I've thought about it. No, it gets done. I'm on top of your paperwork, Jerry. Come on, man. You and me and you are pals here. You know I keep track of this. But anyways, so my other couple of things here that I wanted to address is that from the town, if you don't mind, Wyatt, I hope I'm not stepping on your toes here. So in regards, we address the water. In regards to building size, one of the things that I was checking for concern with is that pesky performance standard that basically says that it's got to fit in with everything in the surrounding areas. So what I did was I pulled a bunch of property cards here from adjacent businesses, and there are 6 buildings on that stretch that have been approved and are in use that are within 500 square feet of that size, or no smaller than 500 square foot, less than the 7,500 they're proposed. Although some of them are actually, we've got one that's double and one that's almost 4 times the size of that. And ironically, Kind Farms is at 25,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not so much that the size of that is outside of
That building
the.
has not been built.
No, but it has been
That's what it's approved.
No, but they're not going to put it up. It hasn't gone.
It's what's approved. It's what we have property cards for, and that's what it shows for building size on the property cards. So there's actually some significantly larger properties there. The sheet metal shop, obviously Outlook is much larger than that, but that's something that size-wise I was concerned about whether or not it would fit with the nature of the surrounding buildings. So I did that little homework and I figured I'd share it with the board. As far as the loss of value, we'd been hearing that right from the start. I emailed assessing. For assessing, we use MRI. They handle quite a few municipalities. I asked them to research. I asked Paul, the owner, the boss, to do some research through their other municipalities, as well as here in Berwick with the other fuel stations. They found no evidence of any loss of value for properties adjacent to any commercial fuel stations or convenience stores. And then the last thing is the traffic. Please don't talk from the audience, and that's the assessors. I'm not trying anything. So Berwick has long wanted turning lanes and islands and such on Route 4 because people drive fast. Fast driving leads to bad things. It's been too expensive to come to the top of the pile for the town of Berwick. These road improvements, if this goes through and if the DOT has them put in these road improvements, will go a long way towards getting the town to where we want to be with turning lanes, center islands, traffic control. And that is something that James mentioned, is that that's something that we have been looking at for a very long time. That's why that study was done. So those are the 4 items I had that I wanted to let you know that homework I had done on my end for the board.
And if I may, I can't speak to the exact comments that we may be making, but it's my understanding that we will shortly be agreeing to a draft proposal with the DOT. So we will have much more specifics for anyone who's curious about these road improvements. We'll have more for you, I believe, at the next meeting. I can't speak for certainty, but it's my understanding that we're going to be offering, an agreement to the draft shortly.
You got a question. You're going to be talking with the DOT. there is a highway driveway entrance rules ordinance from the state of Maine, which states, and I think this would be considered a public facility because the public's going to use this. It says right on here that will not be granted an entrance into the mobility artery where the posted speed limit equals or exceeds 45 miles an hour. You're showing on all your plans 55 miles an hour. That's in violation of what the Maine ordinance says. So, in my mind, the speed limit has to be lowered to at least 40 based on their rules and regulations.
I'd have to look into the exact definition that they're using for a public facility. But
which is kind of dovetails to one of my concerns is the speed in front of here and actually going from Links at Outlook Golf Course all the way into North Berwick is 55 miles an hour. And just my quick seat of the pants survey of virtually every gas convenience store in the area, it's 35, maybe on 236 it goes to 45, but I don't see any at 55, which I think adds a significant danger. So as you are talking to DOT, I think it's, I agree with Jerry, it's got to be 35 or 40 miles an hour there to really cut down on those accidents. And, I happen to have been at the site of the last accident where someone did die. And it's not pretty, and people are flying there. Someone had said during the comments that some people are going 75 and 80 in that 55 zone. It is a speed zone. And, there are abutters who have dealt with this, and now they're going to deal with it some more. So I think it's really important that when talking to DOT, as you will, that these concerns be brought up.
We will absolutely bring those up. It's been a little while since we've heard from them. I imagine there will be more discussion when we make this offer.
It also discusses sightline distance and everything else, which I think for the board, we should have a drawing which shows not just these little pictures, but the whole area with the sightline distances outlined on here. And for 55 miles an hour, it's almost 1,000 feet. It's 980.
Stopping sight distance, we have that measured on boundary survey. It was presented in our TMP permits. I can provide that to you happily. If you'd like it to be included on the town plans, we can do that as well.
Right.
I do have assurances already. We are over 1,000 feet. I believe it was like in the higher 2,000s going up toward Outlook, and I want to say it was like 1,100 or so. Toward Outlook, and it's over 1,000 in the other direction. We did have it measured. We sent our surveyors out there.
As everybody said.
Hold on, Irish.
Public facilities, including but not limited to buildings, property, recreation areas, and roads which are owned, leased, or otherwise operated or funded by a governmental body or public entity. So it would not apply.
Okay.
That's why they're allowing it.
So that kind of dovetails into that. Really, that was some of my notes were about the traffic, and so my question on that, and maybe this is more for Hannah than you, is this is a DOT road, right? So they're responsible for getting a DOT permit, which how much do we have to do with that?
Not
Nothing.
really anything.
Nothing.
You
So-
can just
and I
acknowledge
just
that
wanted
it's
to-
happening.
Yeah, if it
and
was
you-
a town-owned road, then we have
condition-
some standing, but since the
Because
state
I agree
actually
with
owns
everything
it-
everybody has said, and I agree. Like I know that road very well. I was just on that road earlier today, and coming out of Blackberry Hill Road onto Route 4 was sketchy. It took me some time. That'd be a good place for a light for sure. But again, I think that one of the things that's important for people to understand, we all know. We just recently had some great training. This is more to the public because I heard everything that everybody said, and I appreciate that. I lived in a house in North Berwick, and I had a beautiful 14-acre field behind my house with the train off in the distance. It was absolutely beautiful. My daughter used to jump off my lap and go running for the slider. The train, the train, the train. And then somebody bought that field and built a house right behind my house, right in between me and the train tracks. And I didn't like it, But what could I do? They bought the land. The guy came to me, offered me the land. I couldn't afford to buy it. They built. You know, one of the things that's important to understand is that, you know, when people buy a piece of land, they have certain rights, just like we do. If we build a house, we have a right to put a driveway in there. We have a right to have a garage. And our job as a planning board is to determine when somebody comes before us if what they're asking to do meets the land use ordinance. We don't really legally or morally have a lot of leeway in that determination. You know, either it meets the land use ordinance or it doesn't. We do have some leeway in conditions that we can set, some off-site improvements, you know, some screening, like a fence. You know, I heard the concerns about, you know, the headlights in somebody's driveway, or just looking out your back window and seeing the back of a garage, gas station or a side. We do have some leeway in that stuff. I'm only saying this because it's a tough spot for us to be in, because, you know, we're members of the community, and, you know, we actively worked on the new regulations for the gas stations. One of the letters was asking, you know, encourage the planning board to enforce these regulations, the new regulations. We cannot enforce the new regulations that were put in after this application. We can ask for them to make concessions for those things, but like he said earlier, you know, he's met most of the regulations except the size, and it would be, you know, it would be outside of what is our job and our duty to the town, because as a town, we collectively wrote these land use ordinances and voted them in, and it's our job to enforce those land use ordinances regardless of how we may feel about a project. So that may have been a little ramble in a speech. I just felt it was important for the neighbors to understand what our duties and responsibilities are here. You know, we didn't write the land use ordinance. Our job is to enforce it. And I think it would be illegal for us to enforce land use ordinances that got voted on after the application came in. Unfortunately.
I'll add on to that is also the zoning. The zoning for this is RCI.
That was my next thing.
It's residential, commercial, and industrial. So there's a lot of things that the town has wanted to put on this road. It's not just residential, it's commercial and industrial. So this is one of the main highways where we put our commercial and industrial stuff.
And unfortunately, again, you know, one of the things that Irish kind of took, you know, one of the pieces away that I looked at with this is that, you know, this does meet the size and scale and scope of most of the businesses on Route 4. Unfortunately, for the people that live around there, that is an area where there are big businesses, you know. So I just wanted to make that, you know, make my point that, you know, I'm compassionate to everybody's concerns, and I understand, but it's, you know, we're kind of limited in what we can say no to, really.
And I do understand that, Les, and I also know that we have an obligation for health and safety. And health and safety are big issues, and that's why we're heavying up on the traffic and we're heavying up on the water. Those are two really big health and safety issues, and not just for the abutters, but for everybody who drives that road. So we just want to make sure that that those issues are fully vetted and addressed in this. So that's, you know, where we'll be going on this, and we do appreciate your cooperative attitude very much.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to say something else, too. We talked about health and safety, but we never talked about the vapors coming out of the tanks from the vents. That's an issue surrounding with the neighbors. If you go look online, you can find numerous studies on that. And also, a convenience-type gas station brings crime. Kind Farm has been broken into twice. The ATM across the road has been broken into twice.
No kidding.
Once.
Twice. I lived
Twice.
Once.
Yeah, Kind Farms has been once.
The alarms went off day after day. It's hard to tell.
For what it's worth, I did read the comments about crime in these letters today. I did some research myself, and I didn't know anything about the stats. From what I read, something like 3% of crime in the United States occurs at gas station convenience stores. That's news to me. If there are any recommendations from the board as we go through this thing, specifically relating to mitigation of crime, I don't know, however you may find a way to address these things.
Why are you staring at me, Jerry? The police chief would be the one that would weigh in on whether or not he felt that was an issue.
Well, he has, and he said there was no issues.
Okay.
He had no issues with
I
this
could tell you that
police
from, and I don't know if I'm speaking out of line, and I know James is watching this, so James, you can punish me later, but I can tell you right now that there are two fairly good-sized criminal issues occurring here in town. One is surprising to no one, and the other is actually a bunch of poorly supervised middle school children wreaking havoc and doing crimes downtown here. There was nothing that Chief Town addressed in regards to any businesses having any criminal risk issues at the moment.
To go along with what Phil said earlier about South Berwick Water District, South Berwick Police and Fire should weigh in because the first responders will be South Berwick.
We can certainly send this to them.
And ask them to weigh in.
We can certainly. It's definitely being spoken about. I don't think I'm out of line because it's easy enough to trace property tax records, property cards, property deeds. South Berwick is not taken by surprise by this at all because the Patels actually purchased this parcel from one of the Board of Trustees, a member of the Board of Trustees of the Water District. So they are absolutely 100% fully aware in South Berwick of all of this going on because it was one of their people that sold them the parcel. So they know all about it. But I will send that over to their police and fire as well.
All right, so moving on. One of the questions was hours of operation.
Well, I was preparing to hand the mic off to the next person anyway. Are there any other engineering specific questions from the board or the administration?
I have one. It's not really a question, but related to your comment that your proposal essentially satisfies all of the new land use ordinance requirements, even though we all know that you're not technically subject to them. Would you be willing to put together a memo just outlining that?
I think we could, yes.
In addition to any other...
Yep, I think we could put together a memo speaking to what degree we're acquiescing to all of this. I do want to be clear, what I had looked at previously was a draft. It was not the final version, and this was some months ago. But I think we can put together a memo for that, yes.
And Wyatt, you can find that right on the town website.
You've got it.
And if you can't find it, email and I'll send it to you.
Yes, indeed.
Does the planning board have a copy of the traffic study we did?
Yes.
So you all can relate to that for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Right there.
Who's we?
I was at the meeting.
Mark Pendergast, former select board.
No,
All right.
Mark, you're not supposed to speak from the audience.
Wyatt, I just have one question. Can you just reiterate what the size of the parcel is and what percentage of the parcel this is taking up?
Sorry, in what?
I did hear someone say that this goes right to the edge of the parcel, which I did not.
She's asking for the parcel size and your coverage
The
percentage.
coverage, yeah.
What is the lot coverage percentage?
Maximum lot coverage is 80% in this zone. I don't know what the proposal is, but...
Okay.
And do you remember off the top of your head if that was measured on building coverage or if that was impervious coverage?
Probably impervious, but...
Yeah, so the total lot size for coverage calculations is 103,636 square feet. The proposed impervious coverage is 42,839 square feet, which is 41.3%. Note 4,220 square feet of the 4,170 41,788 square foot of impervious coverage is located outside of the subject parcel in the public right-of-way and consists of the driveway and proposed turning lane created as per reference to.
So in case anyone is missing the significance of that note, a large portion of that impervious coverage that we're proposed to be adding in that note is located in the turning lanes that were given to us by Maine DOT, and that's where some of that coverage comes from. I also do want to express, while our exact number of impervious coverage may change, it will not, under any circumstances, go over an acre. This would be because it would trigger additional levels of DEP review that would significantly slow the process of this project getting approved. So I've been working with our architects. I've been talking to Robert. I've been talking to Brandon. And while that number may not be exact to the square foot, it will not be going over an acre, which is 43,560 square feet. So if anyone wants, go ahead.
So looking further on the general notes, it also, number 8, it says wells of abutting parcels require a 300-foot buffer in which the gas tanks and pumps may not be placed. This does not apply to any on-site wells serving the subject parcel. So that's...
Thank you.
Yep.
And those radii are also shown on our plans in numerous places also. All right. Unless there are any other questions, I'm going to net the mic to either Robert or Kevin. I don't know which of them is.
You want to answer those?
All of these coming up, I'll just answer Les's question from earlier. The only action item is a final approval. There's no preliminary approval. So until you are ready for final approval, the review just continues to subsequent meetings.
Administration, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And for any abutters, I will be around after this.
Hold on. If
Can
you're
you
going to
be at the
speak
mic,
here,
please?
speak in the mic. Sorry. It's just so the people that are watching this.
People at home.
I just wanted to state if there were any abutters that wanted additional discussion with me, I will make myself limitedly available after this meeting, depending on how long it goes, to speak with any of you and try to address your concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't want to stay out till midnight?
Oh, I'd love to.
We are going to be here every night.
No, he says he's making himself available after. Limitedly available after. No, I'm not being here midnight.
Hello, my name is Kevin Patel. I live in Dover, New Hampshire. So, answering a question about hours for the operation, it will be open at 5 in the morning and it will be open till 11 for the in-store. And we will be making canopy and all, following all the requirement from the state required to open gas pumps for 24 hours. And we are doing pumps only for 24 hours by using credit card. But for the in-store hours will be 5 to 11. And I also want to answer the question about the one you guys were talking about for the aquifer. So just so you know, like I bought a property from one of the member of South Berwick Water Department, and before we bought the property, we did our research about aquifer and everything. So I have paperwork to show you guys that I did study for that, and I got okay from Maine Water Department, and one of my engineer who does all the petroleum equipments and everything for us, he did all the study. And as per the requirement, we have to be 1,000 feet away from the aquifer, and we are way far away from that 1,000 feet requirement. And I have map which suggests we show that whole situation where the aquifer is, and I'm happy to share that map with you guys, that where it is. And if you guys want it, I can also get you guys in touch with our petroleum engineer who does all the petroleum equipment, and they are the one going to take care of all the petroleum equipment on the site, including the tanks and the requirement from the state or federal requirement coverage. So, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Sorry,
Hold
hold
on,
on, please.
Wait, stay right there.
Mr. Patel,
So-
I would like copies of those if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, I do
Whatever
have copies.
reports you have, if you could send them to me so I can review them, I would greatly appreciate that.
Yes, I do. Yep, because I knew there was an aquifer close by because I got aware from the
John
person
told
I
me,
bought.
yeah.
Yes, John. I talked with him also, and I bought a parcel from the person who was in the water department, and we did our study before we spent money on that property. So I'm more than happy to share that all documents you guys needed.
So I have a question
Yes.
for you. You said Kevin, right?
Kevin, yeah.
Kevin, I heard several people say that this is on top of an aquifer.
Yes.
But I haven't seen any mapping to say it's on top of an aquifer. So you have a map that says it's not on? I don't know if that matters.
It's next to one.
It is uphill of the Love Brook watershed aquifer area. It
Okay,
is
I
not
just wanted that
on. It
question
is not
answered.
on an aquifer.
There is
I just wanted that
three.
question answered
There is
because
3
several
or 4 aquifer areas get marked on that map, and those are all close to that Gulf Coast area and all those areas, but not close to my property. Because I was looking at 2 properties, and I make sure none of the properties was into that thing. So I have all those documents to show and prove that it is more than 1,000 feet away from aquifer.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. And I do have the.
Can I ask one question about the lighting a little bit? I understand the lighting is the lighting, and you're going to do your very best, and we heard about that, about dark sky. That's fine. What's the lighting going to change to when no one's there? Is it going to dim down? Because you do have people sleeping across the street and right next to it. So I think that's going to be a big issue about how bright those lights are when no one is at the station and people are driving in and out to get gas.
So any gas station you've been to, you probably see if gas station closed. We usually keep like safety lights on around the buildings just to make sure all our windows are covered and nobody break into it.
Security
And
purposes,
yes,
cops
for the
love that.
security purpose, it will be little light up around the building just to make sure no crimes happen around the building. And for the gas pumps, for the 24 hours, to answer your question, when we keep like 24 hours for the pumps, lights only on the top of the canopy. Canopy lights only on, which is maybe like 6 lights or maximum like 8 lights. I think we already have in a lighting plan that how many lights we're going to put up at the canopy. So only canopy lights will be on just to make sure people know it's open, plus just to make sure they feel safe when they're filling up, because you don't want to fill up in a dark night. So yeah, that's the only light going to be on for the night. Only safety lights. And
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
One thing that I remember when we were dealing with Kind Farms, they have a berm in front of them. Like, so when you drive past it, it kind of hides it a little bit. A thought for that would be like where you have some selected trees to maybe think about possibly just building it up a little bit. So like the cars that are pulling in and parking facing the houses on Route 4, it might be tall enough that it blocks most cars.
I think my architect can answer your proper question, because we are also thinking about little smaller stone wall at the front, so that way lights doesn't go to the neighborhood. Plus, it's better for us also to keep like a neat and clean and maintain those area. Yeah, so he can explain you better. And probably if you see that picture, one of the picture probably not. Yeah, you see some wall over here too. And he's still working on getting like the wall covered to the front of it.
Okay, along with what you said, Mike, along Route 4 right now, going into the property, there's a swale.
Yeah.
It looks like that swale's going to go away. The runoff from Route 4 goes to both sides. Where's the runoff going to go once that swale goes away?
Yeah, my architect would answer all the questions for those.
As when we did the site walk, I'm pretty sure that most of the water goes back towards
I'm
the
not
corner.
talking about the property runoff. I'm talking about Route 4 runoff.
Okay.
Not
Middle of the road.
Yeah.
What?
Middle of the road. They're gonna put-
No, because they're putting an island in the middle of the road.
Well, my understanding
way
is
it
that
shows.
the entrance is only 26 feet wide.
Yes.
So I don't know that the entire swale goes away, just probably where the entrance is.
The way this shows it does. they're planting trees in there.
Since that latest.
So, two quick things. One of which is a funny one on both of our comments. Terry, you had said you needed a lighting plan.
I would like one, yes.
We already have one in
Oh,
our plan
great.
set, which
Okay.
I haven't looked at the plans for a little while. When I saw that email, I was like, oh, yeah, we already have a lighting plan.
Okay, great.
It's in there. That's sorry if I didn't speak to that immediately. Okay, stormwater stuff. So as far as the runoff from the road, I'll actually grab the plan sheet for that as well. This is the lighting plan. That is plan sheet 8. It should be the final sheet.
Thank you.
I'm fairly sure that was.
We got this backwards.
It's been a little while. So, to answer your question regarding stormwater coming off of Route 4, if you turn your attention to sheet 5 of the plan set, if you have that in front of you, I will throw mine up here. Stop me as soon as I lose you, if I do. So our subcatchment areas demarked by these very dark lines running around here. We actually have our stormwater analysis running all the way out to the current peak of Route 4. So as far as where's that runoff going to go, how is it going to affect the swales, we have our very detailed in our stormwater analysis what our analysis indicates will be the changes at this analysis point down here. This point being the lower point in the swale on Route 4, and we're showing a reduction for all of our storm.
If you can
You
use
gotta
the
talk
mic
to the
and
mic,
use
sorry.
the pointer. I know it's kind of hard.
Okay. This guy?
Yep. Just make sure you're talking in the mic, though. Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
You
I'll
can
restate all of that really
You
quickly.
can turn the mic too, Wyatt. You don't. You can even pick it up and take it with
carry
you.
it.
I'm just going to do this. This is
Okay. Yep.
So, look, as we're looking around our plans here, these dark lines that follow along here, each of these are demarcated by a hexagonal indicator. They have numbers on them. Each of these is a subcatchment. Our subcatchment borders, this one here, you can see runs out past and running through the middle of the proposed island. So we're actually already accounting for all stormwater flow coming off of Route 4. And this is not the existing Route 4. This includes this expanded turning lane right here. This includes the turning lane over here. This includes, I guess it doesn't quite get to that island there, but our analysis indicates, I don't know if you can see it past the architectural plans, but we have already accounted for any runoff coming off of Route 4, even with the new impervious area. There's a reason that we included it in our coverage calculations. We have accounted for it. And if anyone has any specific questions regarding our stormwater analysis, I'm happy to answer those via communication. But I just wanted it thrown out there. We have already addressed that sort of thing. And that analysis point down Route 4 should be seeing less flow as an average, or not just as an average, just across the board. For all the storm events that we charted, you see a decrease at that point. As for what's becoming of the swale, we've been out there, and our surveyors actually had some unique complaints when they were shooting the culvert running under that existing piece of driveway.
Right.
It is very heavily damaged. It actually is so damaged, it is flowing the wrong way. The uphill side is on the downhill end of the swale. It's deformed that much.
Wow.
It's not doing very much right now. If you go down there, the first time I went over there, it was in the winter, and there was still standing water, even with the temperature well below freezing. There was plenty of water down there. It's not working very well right now. We have a new culvert going in. We actually have a larger area here as well, which hopefully will do a better job of catching sediment, trash, etc. And our culvert that we're putting in should dramatically improve the serviceability of that swale, in fact, just for anyone's reference. Anyone have any other questions regarding the stormwater stuff for the swale?
Of course, here.
Is there an email or anything? So
Yes, I'll write it down.
I don't know where it is.
We can have another one in final.
It's got a little.
Gary's gonna
It's got a lot going on right now.
There's a lot going
Let
on.
it settle.
I got my card.
Yes.
Yeah, you can send it.
Planning at berwickmaine.org.
Any information you have that I can review before?
Whenever. Ready?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Sorry.
No, not a problem.
He needs my email address. He's already on top of forwarding me the stuff that I asked him for. So
Perfect.
I'm not going to argue. I'll look at it this weekend.
So again, I'm Robert Wedemeyer. I'm with Winter Holben. We are the architect on this. So I'm just kind of here to talk a little bit about the architecture of the building.
Hey, Mark.
Hopefully address a little bit of the size concern. Go from there. So as we kind of mentioned in our narrative here, we're kind of taking a different approach to sort of the rural structure. The shed roof, which is the majority of the shape of these, is a very traditional and rural. It's the most utilitarian shape for a roof. It's used all over the country, including New England. So we basically wanted to sort of expand on that, mainly due to the fact that the client was challenging us to try to create a building that doesn't really look like a gas station as far as the structure. So I heard Cumberland Farms mentioned a few times, but we didn't really want to replicate that. We didn't want to put up a little barn look, as it's pretending to be something it actually is. But at the same time, we wanted to take, aspects of the countryside. We're using very natural materials, very earthy tones. We've got stone as part of the material list. We've got these exposed glue laminated wood structure that we're looking to do, which kind of plays off of the whole timber structure that you see in a lot of these buildings. We're looking at, just some very simple metal trim. Sort of, again, there's metal silos around them. So basically, keeping with the material palette that's in the area, we're changing geometry a little bit. We're very cognizant that it is a long building, as people have pointed out. We look to address this by basically creating 3 separate volumes and letting these volumes complement each other, but also break it up. So when you look at it, it isn't just a 125-foot long wall. Again, the concept was plenty of buildings. You can see this was the main original building. This is the big mass, and then we have this addition to one side, this addition to the other side. And we're, again, playing off of sort of that idea. That's the architectural part of it. It's 7,500 square feet. Part of it's because the clients pushed us to, this is sort of like their flagship location. This is wanting to be more of a market. It wants to be a bigger deli. It wants to be more than just a gas station. A lot of people, and we even put in our narrative, we say convenience store, but if we look at it as a market, it's a small market. It's not a Hannaford. So I just wanted to address that. More specific, some of the concerns with lighting. It's hard to see in the perspective here, but the fuel canopy actually is shedded so that the high end is facing towards the actual main building store. That's done on purpose so that when there are lights up in that canopy, you're not going to have, it's going to help, that the roof's going to help shield some of that from the streetscape and whatnot. That's the architecture spiel. If there's any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer. And,
I do have a question.
Yeah.
As somebody who really pays close attention to traffic coming in and out of locations when I'm trying to go in or out of locations, line of sight is really important to me. So like even coming out of Cumbies down here, if you're turning onto School Street and you want to go left towards the light, you got to creep way out into to the road to see somebody coming down. So I just wanted to bring that up in terms of, on a picture, it's great to see trees everywhere and potential fences and stone walls going everywhere, but especially out at the entrance, it would be important for me to ask for consideration that line of sight with signs and trees and walls and fences and all of that stuff be taken into consideration so that people can see traffic coming and going as clearly as possible to avoid as much as possible any creeping out into a dangerous location. I do love trees. The more trees, the better. I like the drawing showing trees scattered in and about to break up between sight lines. I also know that it's just a drawing, so hopefully your trees exist when it's done, if this does get approved.
I think I'd just like to make a comment that, I'm actually surprised that there's only 3 gas pumps. So to me, this says this is more of a market that has gas than a gas station that has a market. And that's a different feel than, when we wrote the regulations for the new land use ordinance for the gas stations, I traveled around and looked at many gas stations and actually got my wheel out and measured them. People thought I was crazy. I measured the one across from Key Auto. That gas station, best of, I could measure from the outside is 5,200 square feet. I went and talked to the Cumberland Farms here. So to me, I think, this is going to be a beautiful market that sells gas.
I guess, I agree, and I do believe that's done on purpose. And I guess one thing I didn't point out was the electric charging, because, they're looking to put in some electric charging stations in there, and as somebody mentioned earlier, you got to have to think about the future as we go along this, which, again, charging an electric car is going to probably take less and less time, but right now, if you need to charge it, it's going to take some time. This building's here to complement that, so that there's people that come, they can charge their car, they can go in and there's a bathroom they can use.
Would your
They can go to
electric
the
charging
deli.
stations be open 24/7 like the gas pumps?
Yes.
So is your lighting plan include how that area will be lit? Is that area on the plan?
I'm going to quickly give things back to Robert, but yes, there is presently, and it's on the lighting plan as well. I believe there should be.
You got to use the pointer.
Yeah.
Just a reminder.
There should be, up in this area, I believe right around here, there's a light post. If I'm remembering my conversation with Mr. Patel correctly, we're looking at putting our vehicle charging station right here, directly under that light. Now, I do know that we just discussed how minimal lighting around the building at night and lighting under the gas station. We may have to go back to our lighting people at Exposure Lighting, and we may have to say, hey, we need you to respec this one. Here's why. Here's what's going under it. Here's the hours of operation. Here are the abutter concerns. We could do that. That's something that we will consider when we go back to this. But it's not shown on the plans yet because this is a new change to the plans, very recent. But right around here, at the top of these parking spaces, there should be a light right around here. It's reflected on our lighting plan. It's reflected on our grading and utility plan. That's where it will be.
I have a question. I'm not sure which of you 3 will answer this, but, in this letter from Winter Holben, it says an area for recharging electric vehicles. So are they putting in recharging stations now, or is that for future use?
I think it's, this is like Wyatt mentioned, this is an evolving process. And it sounds like you're doing it right away now. Perfect. So yeah,
I'm just asking that question.
No.
We went back and forth. I heard a couple
Right.
of people say, this says for that, a space for charging vehicles, and then, so I just wanted clarity. Are we doing that now, or are we doing that later?
We're doing it now. Yeah. Yep. Oh, there we go.
So at the beginning, we were not thinking about it because it was like a lengthy process to go through. For currently, like they give some kind of subsidy from the state for the electric, to promote electric cars and all. So I had to do some homework for that, and then I did all my research, what I can do and what not. And then we ended up doing electric charging station. We're gonna put 2 dual-sided, so you can charge like 4 cars together. And if you can see here, we are also adding some seatings inside because we were not able to put seating. First, our plan was putting some kind of seating outside, but it was going like a more of that in previous land use and everything. So then we finally did like some seating inside, so people when they're charging their car, it's like half an hour and 45 minutes. So we want some kind of things where they can sit and enjoy their food, or they can wait while their car charging, and that's why we did that. So we are doing charging station right away, and that's why we put some seatings inside.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Patel, question for you, sir. Sure. And I want to say thank you for your willingness to invest, a significant amount of money into our town and our infrastructure. It's important to us, and I think it's important to the voting public.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think the voting public has voiced their concerns, and we missed the boat on the land use ordinance. We as the board, and we are very well-intentioned volunteers that represent the voting public and the people we serve. And these are seats of service. We serve the community. And I hear the community loud and clear. And I think our fellow board members hear the community loud and clear. And there's nothing that says you have to, because we didn't get the land use ordinance in time. However, being a good businessman, somebody who wants to assimilate his business into our community and be part of the community, do you hear the concerns of our citizens? And are you willing, would you consider any type of concession, maybe to a smaller building, to appease some of those concerns? Is that something you would be willing to do?
So here's the thing. I'm in the area to do business, right?
Absolutely.
I want like support from the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So my first concern is not to upset them. Mm-hmm. So over here, I'm proposing bigger size of building, and that's why I bought like a bigger lot, because my plan is totally different. Once it's done, I'm guaranteed people who are opposite, they're gonna love it too. Because you want on that whole route, you want place where you can, if you want like some kind of produce, if you want some little grocery, or if you want bite up sandwich, like you can charge your car, you can get your gas on that whole route. Because our thought was from South Berwick to Sanford and South Berwick to Wells. If you go on main route, there is no place where you can eat food or get some of your necessity things, or like get a like bottle of drinks or Gatorades or anything you wanted. Like that's why we are proposing bigger building to cover up all the aspects of people's requirement. Mm-hmm. And I'm already doing business. I have other businesses which is smaller because I bought as it is. And when I'm doing something, I want to provide maximum facilities possible. And believe me, I'm here to do business, and I would love to work with what I can. But for the size-wise, I want to satisfy requirement of everybody, and that's why we are going bigger. And I guarantee people would love it once it's done, because it will be more of their requirement filling up, and they will satisfy with it. And as I discussed with all my architects and engineers, that we want to satisfy them as much as we can. And even though fencing is not required as per the ordinance and all, we would love to do that, because we don't want to upset our neighbors. We want to work with them, and we want to do business in neighborhood. And it's not just first one for me in this area. I have few other ones in this area too. So same people follow me at the other place too. So if I upset them, I would lose business on the other side, on the other part of the towns too. So I want to work with them. Over here, that's the only reason we did it, because we want to do like a full-size deli and everything. Yeah. Thank you.
So in short, you are not willing to concede on size. You want to keep the size. That's what I'm hearing you say, sir.
So
the only reason I ask,
yeah.
and I'm not trying to press the point.
No, I get it.
But as a servant of the public of the town of Berwick, I have a letter from 43 voting people in our town they bring up the same point that I brought up. Are you willing to scalability, size? that those are their concerns. And those are just concerns that, as a board member, I have to ensure that these people's voices are heard and their concerns are addressed.
For the size of building is as I explained, I'm trying to satisfy expectation of everyone on the road. Like if you go down south, like SITS or Wawa, those are like a huge station.
Absolutely.
And
Yes, sir.
that's what, like, if you follow Facebook and all, people who has a concern, they walk here, but a lot of people supporting that thing too, that they want something like Wawa or SITS or something. So that's what our major, like if you see the building look and all, it will reflect the look of Wawa or SITS kind of building. And that's why we are proposing bigger, where we can satisfy all requirement of people.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question that probably Wyatt would answer best, if you don't mind taking another walk.
Great luck.
So, the size of the entrance which you are given is 26 feet wide, is that correct, or
Yes.
roughly?
Yeah.
Is there any consideration on how tractor trailers might want to turn in there to either get fuel or charge their semi, which eventually will happen at the charging station?
So glad you asked. Yes, there is. When I did our site layout, this was something that I agonized over, actually. I have vehicle tracking layers. They're not shown on our plans, and I can show them to you on the next one if that is your wish. But we sized our lot so that you can take a 45-foot long trailer, like a 45-foot long trailer truck, and you can run it from any of the new turning lanes. You can get it cleanly into the property. You can navigate around the building. You can pull in alongside the gas. If it's a tanker truck to fill up on gas, you can pull it in with one loop around. You can get from the back of the building all the way out through the normal turning lanes. I agree that driveway is pretty tight, and I will be straightforward. It's going to be pretty difficult for those 40. Once you get to the 45-foot length, it's pretty difficult.
You do understand that a growing majority of tractor trailers are 53 feet long.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
We sized it based on, I had asked Mr. Patel specifically what he typically sees for deliveries for gas.
But there are a lot of trucks
yes.
that just drive by there, verting 95 per se, and might want to stop in for topping off their tanks and grabbing a drink.
So what I can offer you there is, if you would like, I can try. It's going to be a little trickier to show accurately, and I don't want to show you anything that's against reality, because it works for a 45-footer. I can show you what it might look like for, you said 53 feet or whatever.
Yep.
I can look at, there's a bunch of vehicles in it's like a vehicle tracking library. I can try to find a larger truck, and I will run it through just to see what it looks like, and I can show that to you. Okay, I can do that.
Along with Rick's comment, looking at other gas stations and the traffic that comes down Route 4, you have not only just trucks, but you have campers of various sizes that are stuck in traffic most Saturdays and Sundays on that road.
Also Milan.
Driven by not professional drivers.
Right. And most of them will probably at some point want to turn in there as well. With one entrance, if you were to have an accident, that place is going to be blocked. Emergency vehicles and everything else, there's no way in and out of there with just one entrance.
That's out of their scope, though. That's the state
I
saying they can
hear
only
your
one
concerns,
entrance.
and trust me, we want a second entrance. There are earlier drafts where we had two entrances. We had one on each end of the property. I'll be candid with you. I don't like the way that the DOT is making it. We're very limited with where we can put our gas. You can look at those well offsets. The DOT, we tried to debate this. This was a very lengthy process. They essentially forced us to put our driveway going straight toward the canopy. It's not ideal. You talk about those 53-foot trucks. If we were allowed ideal placement of the entrances, if we were allowed two entrances, it would be no issue.
Yeah, I totally get that. You are limited by it, but it is a fact.
Right.
Yes, no, I know. And we're trying our very best to deal with that.
Causing a safety issue, I would think, as well, with just one entrance at that point.
Yeah, I mean, we looked into it. I don't think there's any way we can convince the DOT to go for two entrances, but we will, if you'd like, like I said, we still haven't given them our comments on the draft plan. If that's something you want us to comment on, we will.
I think it's really important that you comment on it because it might make them realize how important either a different engineered plan for an entrance might actually benefit for traffic safety. So maybe you get both, or maybe you get a wider one, and I know working with them, you're up against it. You know, what they say goes. But I would at least like to have that comment brought on a 53-foot truck.
Okay.
Any other comments on that? I'd recommend that as well. If we could have two entrances to this, it would be more beneficial than one.
I know.
Especially if our comment has any weight to the state. I mean, then
trust me. It seems very clear that the board wants this. I will talk to them about this. But I want all of our expectations to be realistic here.
Right.
I find it exceedingly unlikely that they're going to grant us a second entrance, and I really want them to, and I will ask them to. But I want to be clear, I would not hold your breath on that. Anything else? So 53-foot truck, vehicle tracking shown on the next one.
Yeah, we have not talked at all about signage or what that's going to look like here and where it's going to be, how bright it's going to be, and how good it's going to look or how unpleasant it's going to look. So could you?
Would that be more on the final?
Yeah.
That would be more on the final.
I think.
Yes, we could. Okay.
With our next submission,
yeah,
we can
I
include some
just
more
put it on the
signage.
punch list. Would like to see.
We have a rough location shown. It's very arbitrary.
We do have a sign permit, and a sign permit requirement, and we have a sign ordinance.
Yeah.
So they do have restrictions. They won't be able to do anything that.
No neon lights, flashing.
No flashing neon lights, no scrolling, no internally lit, period. Everything has to be externally lit.
Right.
Yeah, but we'd like that during the
With dark
hearing.
sky friendly,
We'd like to see it during the
externally
hearing.
lit, yeah.
Or during the hearing, or
Yeah.
is there?
Not the hearing, during the board
At your
deliberation.
next meeting, can you please bring us something that shows us what you're planning for signs, maybe?
Yes.
Thank you.
As well as
Is that easier?
There you go.
As well as
All
a
the words
traffic
together.
plan, please, Wyatt? Traffic plan? A traffic diagram?
Your traffic thing you were talking about
if
for
you're-
the trucks.
The draft permit or what?
No,
They mean the trunk
a drawing with showing the turning lanes and.
Yes, vehicle
yes.
tracking.
Sure.
And a Snickers, because I'm getting hungry.
Now, I don't want to cut them off early, but we do have a couple other things that,
Yes.
if we could try and squeeze them in.
Whip through 'em.
Yeah, I think we can push the rest of this to final, right?
Yes.
The rest of these issues.
There's no voting tonight.
No, we won't be voting on anything tonight. So.
Yeah, since you said the only thing left to vote on is final.
Yeah, there's only
Yeah,
one
then we're
stage
fine,
of
as far as we're
approval.
concerned.
Okay.
So vehicle tracking and the signage.
Vehicle
One
tracking,
thing that
signage, I got a
was
bunch
brought
of things
up
on here.
was another public hearing. Should we talk and discuss about that? Is that in our purview today, Hannah? Or would that be the next
can.
meeting?
I would probably suggest that we have more information from them before.
And then schedule it? Okay.
So
Okay.
I would recommend next meeting we have scheduling it
Okay.
at that
All right,
meeting.
I just
so
wanted
there's
to
more
bring it up
talk
because
about,
it
more to
was
share.
a topic that was.
And I just think that there's a lot of public concern to have one public hearing now early on and have people sitting there saying, I never got a chance to respond
Well,
to that.
when they
Would
draft
like-
the final plans and have everything set in more stone than just the quick, then we can have another public discussion on
And
this.
I would encourage the public to keep an eye on the website as documents get updated, they'll get uploaded, and then it's kind of available to you, so it's almost on you to go to the website, look at what's updated, and read it, so you know what we're going to be talking about at the next meeting.
While I do agree with what Mr. Rain said, I do want to reiterate, as it sounds like the board is getting ready to move on to the next item of the meeting, I will be here briefly afterward. If anyone has things they want to ask me about, specifically regarding things that I've said we already have uploaded on the website, I'm here. Ask
Thank
me.
you for doing that.
Afterwards or outside, please, because
Yeah.
when you guys are talking in the
Outside.
audience, I don't mean to
Outside,
keep
thank you.
yelling at you
You're
all,
fine.
but when you're talking in the audience,
Yeah.
The microphones do pick it up. The people at home cannot hear what is being said. And there's no way, even though BCM does an amazing job retouching the videos, they cannot eliminate the background noise, and that's not fair to the rest of the residents.
Thank you, Irish. All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
All right, quickly moving on. We'll try and squeeze these guys in. First is new business, Integrity Construction, conditional use, 500 Portland Street, R72, Lot 17, Zone RCI. Thank you.
Good evening. That was riveting.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah. I don't know. I was waiting for the pitchforks and the torches to come out. Like, let's go. Like planning board. Like,
Stop giving them ideas.
Get up here. It's getting rowdy. I'm like, all right. Thursday night. Grab some beers.
We got them. The ladies.
Right, I'm sure. Nice. Have a couple. Let's vote.
You can't get any gas stations not built yet. See, Hannah, you got it.
Serious.
I don't expect so.
Believe me.
I know it. I agonized over it.
We're not. We're just I'm fully in support of
I didn't have
the whole
anything from
process. Exactly.
Serious professional process.
It is. It is.
Okay.
I didn't receive one. I didn't receive one from
We have a
him.
conditional use at our property right now
She's saying
for
I didn't
cannabis,
read
and we are looking to change that on building with an open building permit to cabinet shop with the byproduct of sawdust. We're right now, I think we're regulated for 8 employees per building. Integrity has 2 to 3. So we don't see an impact in traffic, and we don't see a change in any groundwater use, any groundwater contamination, or any hazardous byproduct, unless you're allergic to sawdust.
How much sawdust are you guys storing?
I'm actually the building owner. He's actually the tenant.
Yeah, you gotta come speak up.
Come to the mic.
Yeah, thank you. Just for the people that are watching.
Yeah, we'd be disposing of the sawdust as quick as it is created. We're not going to be storing it.
And that just gets trucked out?
Yeah, dumpster.
Okay.
Take it home.
So your local storage, what are you storing it in?
So I have a dust processor that will pick everything up and puts it in a trash bag. Once the trash bag's full, we pick it up.
Okay. We're not talking like a silo or, okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, and this is just for one of the buildings, correct?
This is for one of the buildings.
Yeah.
We have only built one thus far.
Right, but the plans are for 10 or 12 buildings?
As the plans stand now, there's 12 buildings.
12 buildings, okay.
At the rate we're going,
Yeah.
you and I will be sawdust by the time those are done.
I'm halfway.
Well, unless
there.
you find someone that fits for that spot. I mean, it's possible.
We've had, the cannabis hasn't been a bang up. I think
With the
town is-
oversaturated market, it's hard to find that much volume for someone to start up in.
Yeah, everyone wants,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
Is there any questions from the board? From Irish or Hannah or Terry?
I was just wondering about the hours of operation, that's all.
probably 7 to 7, 7 to 3. My way would be 7:30 to 4. Monday through Friday, limited Saturday.
Okay.
7:30 to 4.
You're building cabinets?
Yeah.
You said?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's in that one building that's sitting back there, right?
The one that's there right now.
It's brown.
Okay.
It looks like it blends in the best I can make it,
Yep.
so it doesn't stand out. It's 500 feet off the road.
Yep. You got a gate?
We got a gate.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We're not touching the field.
Nope.
We're leaving the scenicness of Route 4.
Thank you.
Yeah. I love the field.
Yeah, no,
You know?
I agree.
And it's clay and loam
Yeah.
and
I got no
useless. I don't think it's good for growing corn.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
The fire chief and I did a courtesy inspection there. I had already done an inspection there previously, but couldn't issue a CO because obviously it's not. This is just back before the board because it needed the
conditional use.
Yeah, the
added.
approval. So I couldn't issue a CO. prior to issuance of a CO there, they have a couple of things they need to do, including Knox boxes, fire alarm system, all stuff that we discussed on site. They're aware of, prepared to do, and I will inspect for Chief Plant has said he's comfortable with me doing the inspection for him before they actually get their occupancy from me. So all of that will be installed in place. Oh, fire extinguishers.
Where is this building?
Across from Maggie's.
Oh, okay, got it.
Right
All right,
next to
got it.
the Collins
Even
sheet
better.
metal.
Bingo.
Got it.
Perfect.
So this is an existing building?
Yep.
It is
It
now.
was approved for cannabis?
It's
And you want
approved.
to change the use to
It
a
was.
cabinet shop?
We have an open building permit. We still haven't gotten a CO because we haven't had a user.
They were approved for 10 cannabis buildings and 2 industrial commercial uses. This is one of the industrial uses.
So it's not changing a use, just the 2 uses for the 2 industrial buildings weren't defined when they got the full site plan approval.
So now we're
a couple
defining it.
years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, this goes back to.
Yeah. So one of the conditions of
Yeah.
approval
I'd say
was
this
that
was
the
about 3
industrial
years
uses had to
ago
come back
around
to the
that.
planning
Yeah.
board.
Because I was here with that.
When they
Yeah, more than likely, this is getting off topic, but on to while I'm here, more than likely, we're going to be doing some sort of redesign and change of the master plan for the whole thing. There's just no demand. And at the time, we were in the process of playing catch-up to try to catch up to it. And
Right.
then steel
You-
delays.
When I remember, you guys were like the last license that was approved prior to the cap. Like that, you guys are right.
Well, then 420, but they already had applications in.
Yeah, and then they just got voted in last year. They were a no for a while.
Yeah, but they were pre-existing.
Well, for a medical facility, yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So tonight is just completeness.
Yes.
And then
scheduling a
the
public
site walk
hearing.
and public hearing.
Yep.
Okay.
I will make a motion that we find the application complete.
I'll second that.
Okay, further discussion?
I will abstain from this. I work for the future tenant.
All in favor? All right.
You guys gonna come out and walk my site? Like, come on, I'm getting shortchanged.
We got to see this building.
No,
this
we
beautiful
are.
building that's been built.
We can do the site walk and the public hearing in one day, or you can waive the site walk and just do the public
No,
hearing.
I think a site walk is good.
Okay.
So we'll
Looking
do
for
it the
dates?
same day as the public hearing.
Yeah,
I just-
possible.
These guys going
Good for the
through.
new guy.
Let's do it the same day,
Yeah,
okay?
just be happy to see it. It was the first
We're
thing
not-
Paul
Can we
and I.
forecast
It's
this
gonna
one
be
out, though?
like
If we're
all of-
continuing the other public hearing, can we forecast this one
What
out a
other
little
public
bit?
hearing?
It's not
We haven't-
continued
no.
No,
necessarily.
we closed it.
We closed the public
Oh,
hearing.
yeah. Yeah, we voted on that. We
We'll
closed
have
it.
another one.
We'll have another
Oh,
one.
there'll be another one.
Yes.
Understood.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you.
So,
Yeah, we want to wait for that other one.
Well, why don't we just,
It would be the 7th.
let's
of
do it on the
December?
7th.
Okay.
Mhm.
And now time. I know it's getting dark very early now. Is 4 out of the realm of?
there's literally because the use is going to be inside, you got lights in there, right?
Yeah.
So it's not really too
Okay.
huge of a deal if we go at 4 and it gets dark. That's
Right.
okay. It'll take you about, I don't know, roughly about 60 seconds to see the exterior,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
then we'll be inside with lights on. So
Does 4 work with?
which will be about another
everyone, or
120.
Is that reasonable?
This is December 7th.
December
Yes.
7th. Yep. 4
I'm
o'clock.
sure I'll be here, but I'll try.
Okay.
4 o'clock for the site walk, and then we'll
Public
follow with
hearing
the
that
public
night?
hearing. Mhm.
And the public hearing will be that day as well.
I think you have to worry about the public.
I think I'm in the city.
Thank you for saying, I appreciate that. They must be
Well, they're next.
They're next.
They've been waiting
Except for
patiently
Lisa.
as well.
Lisa's one of your select people. She's just here.
Awesome. Thank you.
She's just here.
She's just here. She's not here for a reason.
Wow,
She's
just
here. She's just here
She's
hanging out.
gracing us with her presence. She's not just
Oh,
here.
yes. At least she is very graciously still here, but she's not here because she's next, is what I was trying to say.
Thank you.
She's just
Yeah.
here to be here.
Thanks.
Yep.
She's here for moral support.
All right, so moving on, new business, Berwick Community Garden, conditional use, 20 Public Safety Way, U004, Lot 142, Zone VO.
Good evening. My name's Amrita Cottrell. I live at 8A Goodwin Street in Berwick. In March, a subcommittee of Envision Berwick decided to pursue a community garden for Berwick as a way to support more local food availability for our town. I began researching and visiting community gardens in the surrounding area to learn more about what works and what doesn't work for community gardens. In April, we conducted a community survey, which gave us lots of really good input. In June, the Select Board unanimously voted to allow the site of the old Estabrook School behind the police station as a home for the garden. Starting in July, we began holding twice monthly public meetings to gain input from the community about what they wanted in a community garden. In September, we received a $25,000 community action grant through SMPDC to help fund the infrastructure. We now have a core of about 8 people attending our meetings and helping with the planning of the garden. We've listened to input from the community and concerns and ideas that have been raised. We've done our best to address these points in our plan and the proposal we are presenting to you. We looked at the comprehensive plan and sought to find ways to have the community garden fulfill as many of the goals as possible. We believe the garden will help to alleviate food insecurity in Berwick and the surrounding communities. We have already set a program in place with our 2 Berwick food programs to provide them with fresh produce on a weekly basis. We also have we will also have a farm cart by the entrance at the garden for anyone to come and get free produce as needed. Our design for the garden not only provides a beautiful park-like setting to enhance the green space that has been set aside by the town, but we also provide garden beds for nearly 60 individuals or families. We have addressed the issue of accessibility by having a dozen specially designed beds for people who use wheelchairs or walkers, and a large portion of the garden is designed to make gardening easier for people with mobility issues. In addition, we are designing programs for youth that will teach them how to grow food from seed. With those skills, they will start the plants for the community food share garden beds, along with helping to care for them and harvest the produce that will be donated to the community members in need. We're really excited to bring this garden to Berwick, and we ask for your expertise and assistance to help bring it into a reality.
So I got a quick question for you. Is this going to be a cannabis-friendly garden? I'm just making sure.
If it's not, I got a building for you.
Clever. Where did that question come from?
I don't know, but I
Well,
was
it's a
thinking
community
too.
garden.
Oh.
If anyone needs medical
No. We will not
and
be.
with adult use, I mean, everyone can have up to 3 flowering plants.
Yeah, but the garden will not be going in that direction.
Okay.
Have you had an opportunity to read the letter from Chief Town that he supplied to us regarding the location and his concerns about officer safety?
Is this recent or the original public meeting?
Probably not. I think Terry had to push to get something in writing from him today for the meeting.
Oh, so no, I have not
Was
seen
that-
it.
So
Was that
my
the
only
police
concern,
chief's
ma'am, and
thinking?
I think your endeavor is a very worthy endeavor, and it's something that our community needs. We have a very resource-limited public safety division in our town, both the fire and the police department. They operate on a finite budget, and they provide a very valuable service to our town and our townspeople. The police chief's concerns with regard to officer safety with the location of the garden, the proposed location. As a retired federal law enforcement agent, I have to take that to heart. These guys are out there protecting us every day. Their job is very thankless. And I think we need more time to digest the comments from the police chief and see if there is a reasonable compromise with regard to location that does not put officer safety at risk. The way he stated it in the third paragraph of his letter dated Wednesday, May 31st, 2023. So I just want to make sure we're not losing sight of the police chief's concerns, and we are trying to find a reasonable accommodation so the two can coexist together. Yes, sir.
So Dennis Jackson, 88 Green Street. Yes, so we've read his letter from May this year, and his original concern was people walking around the east side of the police station.
Okay.
And he suggested that access to the garden be along the pathway between the police station and the fire station on the west side.
Okay.
And so that's how we've designed the garden. And so access will be Phoenix Management handles the housing in the old high school. Has granted us use of 6 parking spaces there, and that people that park there will come up to the fire station and walk along the east side of the fire station building and up into the garden. So we feel that we've addressed that particular concern of the police chief.
Okay. His letter dated today, I think, is this from him today?
We received it today.
Okay.
So we have not seen that.
He's just asking for a little more time. In the interest for all parties involved, is that a reasonable ask? Is that we take a little bit more time and maybe have Chief Town come before the board and express his concerns, and we can come to a reasonable compromise?
So right now, all we're doing is looking at completeness.
Right.
So
Okay.
application completeness. We still have to schedule the site walk and the public hearing, so there's still plenty of time for him to discuss this. This already is a public land. This is town-owned land. The selectmen has already done their due diligence with saying where to put it. Now it's just a matter of us making sure the application is complete, and then we will do our site walk and public hearing. Now, I have another question. There's a lot of waivers. There's a lot of waivers. No, there is 7 waivers. 7 waivers. Now, we would be voting on these waivers tonight, or should we table these to
we need some time to digest.
Do we have
content.
In order to find the application complete, you need to vote on waivers.
Right. Now,
Please hold.
yeah.
I was reading the police chief's thing.
It starts at page 19.
I love when they're numbered. That's so... Okay.
I just saw the first 3. I didn't flip the page.
So, I will say that I have already met with Dennis and Amrita, and we have gone through their waiver requests, essentially, so they didn't come in front of the board asking for a million waivers, and you said,
we just don't
"What
have
the
your
heck?"
memo on it.
Well, I can talk about it then.
Okay.
So every waiver that they have requested, I have already vetted
Okay.
before they even submitted the formal application. So my recommendation, unless this has changed since my memo, which it shouldn't have. Perimeter survey.
Like some of them, like I get that there's no septic system being installed, so that's a obvious one.
Well, you have to vote on the waivers one by one, right?
That is correct.
So why don't you bring each one up one by one, and Hannah
We
can
can talk
speak
about
to
them.
it, and
Okay.
you guys can ask the questions, and we can hopefully get through here before our brains turn to mud.
That already happened hours ago.
All right. So Waiver 1 is waiver 9.8.f.2.b.I, perimeter survey of the parcel made and certified by a registered land surveyor. It says we are submitting the boundary and topographic survey done by Owen Haskell Incorporated, dated May 2nd, 2019. This map was prepared for the construction of the new Berwick Fire Department. The map has a scale of 1 inch equals 50 feet, which is greater than the required scale of 1 inch equals 40 feet. I can understand that.
They just didn't do a new one because we had one
We already
already
have one
done.
existing from the fire department.
That was a recent one
Yeah.
from
Okay.
the fire department.
So they're just asking to use the same existing. I'll make a motion that we approve that.
I'll second that.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Waiver 1. Waiver 2, waiver of 9.8.f.2.b.4 IB on-site soils investigation report for subsurface disposal at the site. And the Berwick Community Garden will not be installing a septic system. We anticipate providing a seasonal wheelchair accessible porta potty. The porta potty will be serviced weekly by the provider.
I'll make a motion that we move to accept that waiver.
I'll second that.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Number 3, waiver of 9.8.f.2.c.4 erosion and sedimentation control plan prepared in accordance with Article 7.15 if required, and waiver of 9.8.f.2.c.6 stormwater management plan prepared in accordance with Article 7.17 if required.
Excuse me. I have questions on that. With regard to the sedimentation, fertilizer runoff, it's huge areas and other places, purely organic, no fertilizer, is that?
So it'll be an organically, the garden will run by organic principles. Most of the growing will be done in raised beds. There will be an area of about 2,200 square feet or so of in-ground planting, and those will be, the soil health will be more by organic matter instead of fertilizer. And so we're not going to
So
be
like
using
compost?
Compost,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So we're not.
So it's not your intent to use
No.
ammonium nitrate, anything like
Definitely
that?
not.
Okay.
It's completely out
Heavy
of the question.
phosphorus and potassium base. So
No.
you're not using salt
Not
fertilizers.
salt, no.
Okay. All right.
I would make a motion to approve that waiver.
Which one?
It's 2 waivers.
Yeah, so-
I'm sorry.
Hold on,
I
Hannah.
think we are in the clear for the erosion and sediment control plan. For the stormwater management plan, I don't want to say deny that, but we have received comments from Christy Rabaska, who's the town, she advises on the
Yeah,
MS4
she's
our
permit.
MS4 girl.
I don't know if the board has seen those or not, but
not believe
I have not had a chance to talk with her about it, so I don't want the board to vote specifically on stormwater related things because I want to make sure we're in the clear there.
Okay.
It's not, I don't think anything is necessarily wrong. I just want to make sure that since there are multiple permits going on that site,
Yep.
that we make sure we get everything correct. But I don't, how do I phrase this? I think we can make that a conditional, you can not deny the waiver, but we can find a complete pending resolution on that.
Okay.
If I
If you
may,
approve the rest
Wait,
of the
hold on.
if I may, you guys have you've been working with, what's his name?
Cody?
Yes, to do the modifications for the stormwater permit.
Yes, so I've been in direct contact with Cody, and I can't remember his last name.
And that's Christy Rabaska put them in contact, that's why
Okay.
I bring it up.
Okay.
Department of Environmental Protection, he's reviewed the design, and finds that it'll have no impact on the MS4 system. It'll be right next to the garden. So all storm runoff from the garden is completely accounted for by the existing stormwater system. And there's, in his mind, there's no issue. He says that we can qualify for a minor stormwater revision, which is just have to submit a small fee and a plan and a.
Yeah, it's basically an amendment.
Yeah, amendment, and it's not a deal to him.
So why would we request a waiver?
So I'm requesting the waiver because the town has a set of rules that duplicate the state's review of the MS4 system.
Meeting shall come to order. This is the November 2nd meeting of the Planning Board for the Town of Berwick. Introducing members.
Oh, we pledge allegiance first.
Pledge allegiance first. It's my first time, folks. Bear with me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Starting with my left, we have Jerry Graybill.
Don Ganarelli.
Don Ganarelli. I'm Paul Amatucci, the temporary today. We have Rick Raines here, and we have Les Bodwell. So with that, we're going to start today. We have a public meeting. Public hearing. Primary plan, conditional use, Malloy Pond, major subdivision, School Street, and Heritage Drive. Attar Engineering, do you want to give us a little synopsis before the public hearing?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Temporary Chair.
Thank you.
For the record, Mike Sudak, Attar Engineering, here on behalf of SOW Solar Incorporated. Thank you for having me. So as Mr. Chair said, we're here for our public hearing this evening. We were before you at the beginning of last month, our preliminary completeness determination. Nothing has changed since then, but for the sake of overview for the public hearing, this is an overall 67-acre parcel. We're focused on 10 acres of it along the frontage of Heritage Drive, proposing a 6-lot subdivision, conventional lots, all frontage lots. Private utilities out here, so individual septic and water and drilled wells for each. Really, that's it. Again, frontage lots, no infrastructure, no roads to speak of. That's really all I have for an overview. Be happy to entertain any questions. Thank you.
So we're now starting the public hearing portion of this. So if there are any members of the public who would like to weigh in and please step